Inside a lavish, exotic tea house, Zhang Haobai sat across from Zhou Huayang, his voice low and expectant. "Brother Zhou, you called me so early. Does that mean it's done?" He leaned forward eagerly. "If it is, rest assured, money is no issue." His anticipation was clear. Had Luo Feng's limbs been broken? But Zhou Huayang remained silent, his expression dark and unreadable. "Brother Zhou." Something fell off. Zhang Haobai hesitated before speaking again. "Why don't you say anything?" Finally, Zhou Huayang looked up, his eyes cold and piercing with accusation. "Zhang Haobai, you reckless fool." His voice was like ice. "You nearly got us both killed." Zhang Haobai's smug expression vanished. What? His mind went blank as unease crept in. "Brother Zhou, what are you talking about?" Zhou Huayang took a slow, deep breath. Then, in a voice filled with suppressed fury, he whispered, "You told me to cripple Luo Feng, right?" "Yes, and?" Zhang Haobai nodded, confusion still clouding his thoughts. "And you didn't think to check who he is before giving that order?" Zhou Huayang's lips curled into a sneer. "Luo Feng is a prospective fighter." A thick silence fell over the room. The air felt heavy, suffocating. Zhang Haobai sat frozen, his face draining of color. A chill ran through his spine. His forehead was drenched in sweat. His fingers trembled as he gripped the edge of the table, barely able to process the words. "A prospective fighter," he repeated in a whisper, as if saying it aloud would make it less real. Zhou Huayang gave a bitter laugh, picking up his tea and sipping it mockingly. How? How could this happen?" Zhang Haobai stammered. His earlier jealousy had completely evaporated, leaving behind pure fear. He understood what this meant. A prospective fighter was untouchable. Fighters had government-backed privileges. If Luo Feng reported this to the Jiangnan City Security Agency, Zhang Haobai's life was over. The security agency wasn't some corrupt organization that could be bribed. Once someone was detained, there was no escape. His future ruined. No. His breathing became erratic. Zhou Huayang slammed his cup onto the table, shattering the tense silence. "Now you're scared?" His voice was filled with rage. "You reckless idiot. If I had known, I never would have gotten involved. You think the security agency will only come for you?" His hands curled into fists. "They'll come for me too." Zhang Haobai was now desperate. "Brother Zhou, what should I do?" His voice shook. I can't go to the security agency. If they arrest me, my life is finished. Tell me what to do." Zhou Huayang scoffed. "Figure it out yourself," he spat. "I only came here because we've known each other for years. At least this way, you won't be blindsided when they come for you." Then he stood up abruptly. "If you want to survive this, go talk to your father. Maybe he has enough connections to help you. I won't risk my neck for you anymore." He tossed a few bills on the table. "I already paid for the tea. Don't bother." With that, Zhou Huayang turned and walked out, leaving Zhang Haobai paralyzed in his chair. His mind raced. How did Luo Feng become a prospective fighter? Before the high school exams, his fist strength was only 800 kg. How could he grow this fast in just a few days? His heart pounded in his chest. No, I can't let this happen. I need to talk to my dad." He sprang to his feet, nearly knocking over the table, and bolted out of the tea house. Desperation at home. Inside his family's luxurious living room, Zhang Haobai sat shaking, his fists clenched. Suddenly, KCHAK. The front door swung open. His father, Zhang Zilong, stormed in, his expression grim. "You called me in such a panic, saying you'd die if I was late?" His sharp eyes scanned his son's face. Then his gut twisted. "This isn't just a small problem." Zhang Haobai looked up. "Dad, I'm in trouble," he whispered. Just those 5 words sent a chill through Zhang Zilong's body. His heart sank. "Something is very, very wrong. Tell me everything," he demanded, his voice calm but firm. "Do not leave anything out." Zhang Haobai inhaled sharply, then confessed everything, from his grudge against Luo Feng, to hiring Zhou Huayang's men, to the shocking revelation of Luo Feng's prospective fighter status. By the time he finished, Zhang Zilong's face was ashen. "You try to attack a prospective fighter?" His voice was hoarse. I didn't know. Zhang Haobai stammered. If I knew, even if you beat me to death, I wouldn't have done it. Zhang Zilong squeezed his temples, suppressing the urge to explode. Then, without a word, he pulled out his phone. Beep, beep, beep. A few rings. Then, beep. A voice came through. Big bro? What's wrong? I'm a bit busy right now. The voice belonged to Zhang Zhe, Zhang Haobai's uncle. This is bad, Zhang Zilong said gravely. Your nephew really screwed up this time. What happened? Zhang Zhe, whose voice turned serious. Zhang Zilong explained everything. Silence. Then, that idiot actually provoked a prospective fighter? Zhang Zhe, who exhaled sharply. That's insane. His voice turned cold. Haobai, do not leave the house. Don't make any more mistakes. Don't even breathe near Luo Feng. Why yes, uncle? Zhang Haobai clung to the words like a lifeline. I'll handle this. Zhang Zhe, who continued, his voice calm but commanding. But listen carefully. Do nothing. If the security agency comes for you, don't fight it. Don't resist. Just wait for me. How long until you return? Zhang Zilong asked. My current mission is important. I'll need 1 to 2 months before I can get back. Zhang Zhe, who replied. You're my big brother's only son, he added. I won't let you fall. But until I return, stay quiet and out of trouble. With that, the call ended. For the first time since morning, Zhang Haobai let out a breath. But deep inside, he knew this was far from over. A new beginning for the Luo family. That same evening, in stark contrast to the Zhang family's fear and desperation, the Luo family was celebrating. Luo Feng and his younger brother Luo Hua strolled through the neighborhood, the older brother pushing the wheelchair as they took in the familiar streets one last time. Brother, Luo Hua murmured. After we move to Mingyue, I want to come back and walk around here sometime. Luo Feng smiled. Of course, for years, they had been trapped in their tiny apartment. Their parents had sacrificed so much, sleeping on the living room couch to make space for them. But now, their future was bright. A new home, a new life, and for Luo Feng, a path to greatness. Zhou Huayang. Luo Feng's heart skipped a beat. So it was him. The military officer at the jail had mentioned that Zhang Haobai had orchestrated the attack through Zhou Huayang. Now, the very man who had tried to harm him was standing before him, smiling nervously. You're Zhou Huayang? Luo Feng's lips curled into a faint smile, but his eyes were sharp. A chill ran down Zhou Huayang's spine. Under Luo Feng's gaze, he felt an invisible pressure, a feeling of being hunted. He forced himself to keep a smile on his face. Yes, that's me. Brother Luo, shall we find a place to talk? Luo Feng studied him for a moment before nodding. Sure, I have some things to say to you too. The meeting at Yangzhou Spa Hotel. Not far from the southern shore, the Yangzhou Spa Hotel stood tall, a luxurious retreat known for its extravagant services. Even a small suite cost at least $1,000 per night, making it an elite gathering spot for the wealthy. Luo Feng had heard of the place, but had never stepped inside. Until now. This time, he brought along his brother Luo Hua and Zhou Huayang. The spa hotel boasted lavish amenities, private baths, massage rooms, entertainment suites, and an advanced voice-controlled system for seamless service. Inside their reserved suite, Zhou Huayang dismissed the staff. All right, you can leave now. I'll call if we need anything, he ordered. Yes, sir. The waiter bowed and exited. The suite had 3 rooms. A bathroom for relaxation, a resting room for tea and business discussions, an entertainment lounge equipped with high-end tech, internet access, TV, and even karaoke. Luo Feng glanced at his younger brother. Wah, just hang out in here for a bit. I have something to discuss with Zhou Huayang. Luo Hua grinned, already captivated by the 46-inch flat-screen TV. Got it, brother. He wheeled himself in front of the computer, excited. Wow, this thing even has a voice recognition system. So cool. Luo Feng chuckled at his enthusiasm before heading into the resting room with Zhou Huayang. Click. The door shut behind them. They sat across from each other, tension thick in the air. "Brother Luo, have some tea," Zhou Huayang said quickly, pouring a cup. As he did, his tone shifted to guilt. "I wanted to meet you to apologize," he said, forcing sincerity into his voice. "I deeply regret what happened. I made a stupid mistake." Luo Feng remained silent, observing him. Zhou Huayang. Men like him were common in society. Middlemen who handled dirty work for the wealthy, taking money without question. He wasn't Luo Feng's true enemy. That title belonged to Zhang Haobai. If Zhang Haobai hadn't hired him, he would have just found someone else. But since Zhou Huayang had come looking for him, Luo Feng figured he might as well see this through. Seeing Luo Feng's lack of response, Zhou Huayang grew more anxious. "I swear, I didn't know you were a prospective fighter at the time," he insisted. "If I had known, I never would have agreed to that job." Luo Feng's eyes remained cold. "Brother Luo, please show me some mercy." "Mercy?" Luo Feng let out a small laugh. Then, Zhou Huayang reached into his jacket and slid an envelope across the table. "This is just a small gift, a sign of my sincerity," he said. "I hope you'll accept it." Luo Feng picked up the envelope, opening it to find a check, made out in his name, with his ID number printed on it. The amount? 1 million. Luo Feng's eyebrows lifted slightly. It was the largest sum of money he had ever held in his hands. Even corporate CEOs would find this amount substantial. Zhou Huayang leaned forward, his voice pleading. "Brother Luo, please accept this and let bygones be bygones." Luo Feng contemplated for a moment. Money like this could change his family's life. And in the end, Zhou Huayang was just a middleman, not the true mastermind behind the attack. "I know you're not the one I should be mad at," Luo Feng finally said. "Fine, I'll take the money." Zhou Huayang let out a visible sigh of relief. However, Luo Feng continued, tapping the check. "Bank withdrawals take too long. Let's transfer it right now. Online?" Zhou Huayang nodded immediately. "Of course." Luo Feng grabbed a pen and wrote down his bank details and branch address. "Transfer it here." Zhou Huayang didn't hesitate. He pulled out his phone, accessed his online banking, and within moments, the transfer was complete. A second later, Luo Feng's own phone vibrated in his pocket. He glanced at the screen. "Bank notification. Your balance has increased by 1 million yen." "Done?" Zhou Huayang asked with a forced smile. "Yeah." Luo Feng nodded. Zhou Huayang grinned. "It's great doing business with you, Brother Luo. If you ever need help in Yangzhou City, don't hesitate to call me." Luo Feng smirked. "If anything comes up, I'll reach out." They stood, shaking hands. "Enjoy your night here," Zhou Huayang added. "I've already paid for the suite." Then, he gave Luo Hua a polite nod before excusing himself. A change in fate. Inside the entertainment room, Luo Hua turned away from the screen. "Brother, what did that guy want?" he asked with amusement. "He looked very eager to please you." Luo Feng laughed. "He came to give us money?" "Wait, money?" Luo Hua's eyes widened. Luo Feng had never told his family about what had happened at the jail. He didn't want to worry them. As far as his family was concerned, everything was fine. "Yeah. Oh, by the way," Luo Feng leaned in. "How's your stocks doing?" Luo Hua's eyes lit up. "I didn't make much the first year, but by the second year, I quadrupled my capital," he said proudly. "I probably earned about 20,000 yen. Luo Feng was stunned. Not by the amount, but by the efficiency. Quadrupling an investment was insane. "It's not that hard," Luo Hua shrugged. "Stocks are all psychology and numbers. As long as you read the trends right, you can predict the market before most investors do." Luo Feng listened in awe. If he could do this with just a few thousand, what if he started with 1 million? A thought struck him. "Hua, I'll give you 500,000 yen to invest." Luo Hua's eyes shone. "The market's plummeting right now," he murmured. "This might be the perfect time to buy in." His excitement was clear. Luo Feng just smiled. "Let's see how far you can take this, little brother." A fighter's resolve. As they talked, Luo Feng absent-mindedly picked up his teacup and crushed it in his hand. Tea spilled across the floor. Luo Hua's eyes widened. "Brother, what's wrong?" Luo Feng stared at his own hand, stunned. My strength has grown too fast. In just days, his power had skyrocketed. But with great strength came the struggle to control it. I need training. Serious training. His gaze hardened. Tomorrow, I head to the dojo of limits. For the next 20 days, he would master his newfound strength. Because on August 1st, he would officially become a fighter, and his real journey would begin.
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
5 a.m. of the second day. While it was still dawn, Luo Feng was already rushing towards the dojo of limits. Since he still hasn't received his prospective fighter certificate, he used his old dojo elite member identification to enter the dojo. Brother, good morning, brother. Inside the dojo of limits, there were quite a few members already training. Luo Feng slightly smiled and nodded, and then sprinted towards the elite members building. Since he still doesn't have his prospective fighter certificate, he can only go up to the 3rd floor, the elite member training hall. He had no right to go to the 4th floor, which is the instructor's region. A sound came from the training hall. Luo Feng looked in and saw a white-robed teenager swinging around an iron spear. Brother time, Luo Feng called loudly. Coming this early in the morning to practice? How rare. Note, time means iron. Crazy, the white-robed teenager stopped and looked at Luo Feng with a face of happiness. How come you came here? All right. I should congratulate Crazy for passing the prospective fighter exam. How did you know that? Luo Feng was surprised. Few people should know of the fact that he passed the prospective fighter exam. Last night, our teacher told us when he was teaching. He told us that you and Brother Yang passed the prospective fighter exam. The white-robed teenager helplessly rubbed his forehead. Seeing how you two passed, I certainly have no time to relax. So that's why I came here early in the morning to practice. Luo Feng nodded. So it was the teacher who told them. Even though there were around 30,000 members in the dojo of limits, there were only 6 teachers, and there was only one instructor. When the teachers teach, they usually do it in the huge training halls where thousands of members can attend at the same time. Of course, there was no need to teach the elite members since there were only a handful of them in the entire dojo. Crazy, you passed the exam already. What are you here for this early in the morning? The white-robed teenager laughed. August 1st, the fighter combat exam. I need to prepare myself. Luo Feng laughed and headed towards the weapons room at the side of the training hall, which was opened. After entering the weapons room, there were a large assortment of weapons on the shelves. Blades, spears, rods, bars, axes, swords, pikes, etc. Each category of weapons had even smaller divisions within. For example, the knives had one-handed knives and two-handed knives. And the one-handed knives even had more divisions. The Ghost series, Luo Feng opened up a cabinet where a large amount of identical blades lay. Of course, these blades were copies, so they had the exact same model, weight, and center of gravity as the real blade. There was only a difference in the quality of the material. A real blade that can kill monsters is probably priced around the 100,000s, while these copies only costed a couple hundred, so they're quite cheap. Luo Feng picked out a certain blade, a 2nd series Ghost blade. The blade was 78 centimeters long, and the entire thing was 101 centimeters long. It was 5.2 centimeters wide, and the back of the blade was thick. The tip of the blade was sharp and suited for stabbing. Luo Feng swinged twice and frowned. I've been using this blade for so long. However, it feels so light. A blade that he was used to swinging was now weightless. I need a heavier blade to correspond with my increase in power. Luo Feng picked another 2nd series Ghost blade and swung it around. Nope, still too light. This one isn't heavy enough. Light, too light. Luo Feng picked out the heaviest 2nd series Ghost blade and shook his head. Looks like my strength really increased too much. I can't find a blade in this elite members' weapons room that suits me. Luo Feng could only leave the 3rd floor and go to the 4th. The 4th floor is where the teachers and instructors frequently go to. Luo Feng knew that there was also a training hall and weapons room in there. Prospective fighters also have the right to enter, but I still don't have my prospective fighter certificate. Not sure if I'm allowed to be here. At the side of the staircase, there was a veteran on duty in a small room. HM, what are you doing? This place is not for students. The old on-duty veteran stood up and suddenly let out a face of surprise and laughed. Oh, it's Luo Feng. I heard from Instructor Jiang that you passed the prospective fighter exam. Ha, come on in. Thank you. Uncle Liam Luo Feng let out a sigh of relief. If this Uncle Lee was strict and forced Luo Feng to show his prospective fighter certificate, then Luo Feng wouldn't have been able to go in. From the law's point of view, Luo Feng is still not a prospective fighter. There were tons of decorations in the fourth floor's training hall, along with much higher quality machines and devices. At this time, there was only Luo Feng in the training hall. What a waste, truly a waste. Luo Feng couldn't help but to shake his head as he sighed. In this dojo, there are only 6 teachers. Other than when they teach, they usually train at the limit hall. There's such a good place here, but it's almost always empty. Luo Feng shook his head as he entered the weapons room to the side. The weapons here were also copies, but they were clearly much better than the ones on the 3rd floor. Second series Ghost Blade. Yup, these blades are much heavier. Luo Feng picked one and swung it around, and then picked another one. After 5 tries, he finally found a suitable one. He looked at the label and saw that it had a weight of 101 kg. What? 101 kilograms. Even Luo Feng was startled. Such a heavy blade feels so easy to control to me. The ghost blades were a type of blades that rely on speed, so they were usually lighter. To need a weight of 101 kilograms, how much has his strength actually increased? Looks like my body fitness really did raise by a startling amount. I'll go check my fist strength and speed later. Luo Feng was a bit excited. Now I'll practice the basics. After selecting a suitable blade, he picked a hexagonal shield. In the training hall, Luo Feng's left arm wielded the shield while his right hand wielded the ghost blade. Ha! Luo Feng was practicing the most basics of blade wielding: horizontal cuts, upwards cuts, swinging rapid cuts. Each of them were extremely precise. Every time Luo Feng swung his blade, his center of gravity wasn't affected at all. He kept practicing like this and improved himself. My power is too great now, so I can't control my swinging power too well. Luo Feng knew his own problems. My strength is great, but I have to be able to use it. Luo Feng was clear. Even if your fitness level is greater than your opponent's, that doesn't mean your skill is. Some people can only express 30% of their strength. Some people can express 505, 60%, 70%, and even 100%. Some of the Grandmaster class bladesmen can use a small amount of power to kill a being that's 10 times stronger than him. This is the importance of skill and experience. Of course, if there's too much of a difference in body fitness level, then even skill cannot make up for that. Simply put, no matter what, you have to train in order to bring out your body's full power. Times. Instructor, the on-duty Uncle Lee greeted loudly on the 4th floor. Who's inside? Asked Instructor Jiang. He heard a bunch of faint sounds from the training hall, which were the sounds of a blade causing shockwaves in the air due to its incredible speed. Just the sound alone is enough to know that the person wielding it is a fighter. It's Luo Feng. Uncle Lee laughed. Luo Feng? Instructor Jiang laughed and walked towards the training hall. As he stood at the entrance to the training hall, he watched Luo Feng's movements, which were by the book basic movements. Sometimes he would cut ahead, suddenly dash forwards, dodge, backstep, etc. The movements were all very smooth and connected. What a solid foundation. Instructor Jiang couldn't help but to nod in praise in his heart. Only by mastering the basics can you get better. There are no clear weak points. Great. The more he watched, the more pleased he became. Instructor. Luo Feng turned and realized Instructor Jiang was there and stopped. Instructor Jiang laughed and walked in. Luo Feng, nice skill. You've been training since you were young? Yes, before I enrolled in the dojo, I practiced alone at home. Luo Feng laughed. Instructor Jiang nodded his head in satisfaction, but his expression suddenly froze as he saw the ghost blade Luo Feng was holding. His eyes widened and became huge. Instructor? Luo Feng was startled by the instructor's expression. You? Instructor Jiang looked at Luo Feng with surprise. You were just swinging a 101 kilograms ghost blade, N/O/Vel. /B//and .C//OM. Yes, Luo Feng was frozen. Instructor Jiang Yin shaked his head. Impossible, impossible. There's no way, but soon after, Instructor Jiang Yin's eyes flashed, and he stared at Luo Feng as if he was a jewel. Luo Feng, hurry and go to that fist strength tester machine over there and show me the results. I want to see exactly how strong you are now. His fist strength during the prospective fighter exam was around 1,100 kilograms. In just these few days, he was able to grow to the point where he can easily wield the 101 kilograms ghost blade. Doesn't that mean his strength just jump up by a couple times? Instructor Jiang Yin took in a deep breath. Ever since he became the dojo instructor, Jiang Yin's dojo contribution was lowering. All the fighters in the dojo of limits highly value dojo contribution. The fastest way to raise contribution is to kill monsters. However, Jiang Yin hasn't hunted for a long time. If I'm right, then Luo Feng must have grasped the techniques to genetic energy training faster than most fighters, thought Jiang Yin. Maybe I'll have the chance to get headquarters to send a few people here. If I can recommend Luo Feng, then not only will I be able to get more dojo contribution, but I'll also have a face to show in front of the other instructors. Jiang Yin couldn't help but to be excited. Luo Feng, give me your strongest punch, ordered Jiang Yin. Yes, instructor. Luo Feng stood in front of the fist strength tester machine and took in a deep breath as he thought, my physical prowess is nothing compared to my spiritual force, though. Luo Feng didn't plan on hiding any strength back, so he adjusted his breathing and pushed forward like a dragon. Hong! The fist landed like a missile on the machine, which shook violently in response. D. How much? Jiang Yin immediately ran over and looked at the machine's display. Luo Feng also looked at the display, since he had no idea how strong he was right now. The machine displayed a clear number, 3109 kg. 3,109 kilograms? Jiang Yin took in a deep breath and turned to Luo Feng like he was a monster. Luo Feng was also surprised at this number. His strength increased by so much. I was around 1,100 kilograms during the prospective fighter exam. My strength increased the fastest when I did my genetic energy training, so it probably raised to around 1,500 to 1,800 kilograms. After I awakened, my body became even stronger and jumped all the way to 3,109 kilograms. Ever since he awakened, Luo Feng could feel the change in his body, but he never had a clear number to express it. Luo Feng, you succeeded in your genetic energy training? Asked Jiang Yin. Yes. After the prospective fighter exam, my first attempt at genetic energy training was a success, nodded Luo Feng. Jiang Yin couldn't help but to clap and shout. Ha! I finally have a truly genius person come out from my Jian region's dojo. Just with his first time at genetic energy training, his strength went from 1,100 kg to 3,100 kilograms. For his strength to go up that much, there's probably at most one or two geniuses like this in the entire Jiangnan city. When you start genetic energy training for the first time, it's a completely new experience to your body. Since your body has never absorbed anything like it before, it has hungered for dozens of years. So the first time you do it, the results are the most startling. Starting from the second time and on, the changes are small. You need years and years of training to improve yourself. This first time of training also shows someone's fitness level. Some people's strength raised by 300 kilograms, which is normal. Above average would be around 600 kilograms. Some even raised by 1,000 kg, which was already considered elite. And Luo Feng rose by 2,000 kg. This is true genius. Luo Feng, come and test your speed. Afterwards, test your reaction speed, Jiang Yin, as if he just found a gem, couldn't wait to test its powers. Yes, Instructor Luo Feng was also a bit excited. The results soon came out. Strength, 3,109 kg. Speed, 58 m/s. Reaction speed beginner warrior full points. Intermediate warrior excellent. Haha, a monster came out of my Jian region too. Jiang Yin looked at the final grade on the reaction speed test and turned red with excitement and patted Luo Feng's shoulder. Luo Feng, your instructor's dojo contribution will be relying on you. Luo Feng only chuckled a bit. Luo Feng, with the improvement in your strength, I can let you join the dojo early, Jiang Yin said. You don't need to go through the fighter combat exam. You can join right now. Join the dojo of limits? Luo Feng was suspicious. Usually, you only get a right to join a power after becoming a fighter. Luo Feng, since you came out of my Jian region's dojo of limits, I am technically the person who lead your way. Instructor Jiang Yin patted Luo Feng on the shoulder and laughed. I won't hide it from you. With your first time doing genetic energy training, your strength rose over 2,000 kilograms. And your speed and reaction speed also improved by a huge amount. It's easy to tell. Your talent is genius level, or should I say monster level. In the entire 200 million population of Jiangnan City, there's probably only 1 or 2 people who are this talented. Luo Feng couldn't help but to laugh inside. Monster level? Only Luo Feng knew that his fist strength rose by only around 600 kilograms after his first time doing genetic energy training. Only after he awakened was his strength able to raise to this startling amount. However, Jiang Yin couldn't have thought of that, since genetic energy training is the cause of a normal fighter's highest raise in strength. Geniuses like you will naturally be scouted by the Thunder Dojo, underground gangs, and other families after you finish your fighter combat exam, Jiang Yin laughed. At that time, you might find their generous conditions to be alluring. Luo Feng realized, yes, if only 1 or 2 monsters like this appear in the entire population of 200 million in Jiangnan City, then who wouldn't try to fight over them? So if I let you join now, isn't that even better? Instructor Jiang Yin laughed. Of course, no need to worry. Our conditions aren't bad at all. A normal fighter usually gets a private villa and 100,000 Chinese dollars. Luo Feng, you need to watch your money. The armor, weapons, guidebooks, and some other special weapons, along with lessons from powerful fighters, all need money. Luo Feng nodded. For a genius like you, we'll give you a private villa along with $20 million to let you buy the armor and weapons and everything you need. At the same time, we the Dojo of Limits will also give you a free Daoyin technique, a hidden blade scroll, and a hidden agility scroll. As long as the price of these 3 are lower than 50 million, we'll give it to you for free. If it's over 50 million, then you'll have to pay the extra. Luo Feng couldn't help but to take a deep breath. Holy! Normal fighters only get 1 million, while he is getting almost 70 million. Since the Daoyin techniques and blade and agility guides were important to fighters. Luo Feng, those 3 things shouldn't be over 50 million. However, if you buy them from a different place, you might end up paying 2 times more. Jiang Yin smiled. The fighters of the Dojo of Limits have a discount when buying certain scrolls. Of course, to buy a certain level of scrolls also require a corresponding level of dojo contribution. If you don't have the contribution, you can't get the scrolls even if you have money. Of course, your free gifts won't ask for any dojo contribution. Luo Feng realized that the conditions given to him were extremely extravagant. My Dojo of Limits conditions towards geniuses are all the same, Jiang Yin smiled. In the Dojo of Limits, you can earn other comrades' help from all over. And our leader, the strongest fighter Hong, will also sometimes lead a bunch of true elites. Luo Feng has lived in this age for quite a while, so he was clear on the influence of the Dojo of Limits. Joining the Dojo of Limits was definitely a good choice. Okay, instructor, I accept, Luo Feng nodded. Haha, Jiang Yin laughed. Of course, I don't have the right to let you join the Dojo of Limits immediately. Accepting fighters of your talent needs headquarters themselves to test you. As he said that, Jiang Yin took out a cell phone from his pocket and quietly said headquarters, which made the cell phone dial them. Shortly after, a person appeared on the cell phone screen. Jiang Yin, what's up? The screen's old, bald veteran laughed. Uncle Bai, Jiang Yin said excitedly. I found a genius fighter in my Jian region. His fist strength increased by 2,000 kg after his first time doing genetic energy training. His speed is 58 meters per second, and his reaction speed test was excellent in an intermediate warrior exam. Surely he's a monster-level genius. Oh! The old, bald veteran was surprised and asked. His first time, and it improved his strength by 2,000 kg? How old is he? The older you are, the less worth you are to nurture. 18 years old. Jiang Yin answered. What? Only 18 years old? The old, bald veteran suddenly stood up and shouted, "Hurry up and bring him to headquarters here, you kid. I'll immediately organize a test for this kid, n/o/vel/b// and .c//om. Okay, I'll go to headquarters immediately." Jiang Yin hung up and turned to Luo Feng smiling. "Luo Feng, come with me now to headquarters." "Yes, instructor." "Instructor, I'll put the ghost blade and hexagonal shield back into the weapons room." Right when Luo Feng spoke, Jiang Yin was tugging at Luo Feng. "Who cares about the room? Just leave it on the floor." "Hurry, don't waste time." As he said that, Jiang Yin pulled Luo Feng and rushed towards the staircase. At the same time, Jiang Yin ordered, "Old Li, I probably won't have any time today, so cancel tonight's lessons." "Yes, instructor." Uncle Li nodded, and right when he said that, Jiang Yin and Luo Feng were no longer in his field of vision. Jiangnan City, main section. Jiang Yin and Luo Feng walked side by side on the sidewalk. "Luo Feng, notice any difference between the main section and our Yangzhou?" Jiang Yin smiled as he pointed around. Luo Feng looked around and shook his head. "Not really, it's just that there are more people, more cars, and that there's a larger sidewalk. Everything else is normal." Indeed, there was nothing special about their current location. Jiang Yin smiled. "Right now, there's not much of a difference, but soon you will see it." "Hello." Jiang Yin answered his cell phone. "Jiang Yin, how much longer till you get here?" The old veteran appeared on the cell phone's display. "We'll be there within 10 minutes, Jiang Yin smiled. "Okay, I already got all of the main authorities here, so don't mess up later," reminded the old, bald veteran. "The main authorities?" Jiang Yin was surprised. As they were talking, Luo Feng noticed a large area in front of him. There was a white, silver wall stretching across and a huge, tall, dark blue skyscraper. This skyscraper had 4 gigantic letters that could be seen miles away. Dojo of Limits. "This is the main headquarters of the Dojo of Limits. Our headquarters in Jiangnan City," said Jiang Yin. "There sure are a lot of soldiers." Luo Feng took in a deep breath. Outside the walls of the Dojo of Limits headquarters, there were tons of soldiers wielding real guns. The feeling that the headquarters gave you was like a fully armed beast. And at the main gate, there were rows of soldiers that spanned across 100 meters. "This is our Dojo of Limits Army," Jiang Yin smiled. "Security is high inside the building too." "Go." Entered Jiang Yin, brought Luo Feng towards the main gate. "Let them in." A one-armed man with scars on his face waved his hand, and all the soldiers backed up a step. The entire process made Luo Feng hold his breath. The one-armed man smiled as he looked at Jiang Yin. "Old Jiang, it's been a while since you've been here. We should drink a bit together later." "Okay," Jiang Yin smiled and nodded. He then glanced at Luo Feng. "Luo Feng, he is your senior. Greet Uncle Lu." "Uncle Lu," Luo Feng loudly greeted. He could feel that this one-armed man is a powerful fighter. "Not bad, kiddo." The one-armed man nodded as he smiled. "We're in a hurry, so we'll talk later. Uncle Bai is waiting for us in there." Jiang Yin immediately brought Luo Feng into the courtyard of the headquarters, which looked like a gigantic park. There were flowing rivers, fake mountains, and flower beds everywhere. And Luo Feng could sense that every person he walked past was special. Jiang Yin sighed as he walked with Luo Feng. "That Uncle Lu, just now, is one of my good friends who would fight with his life on the line with me back in the days. He is a good friend who has went through many hardships. His arm was broken off by a black, steel gorilla in one hit." Luo Feng listened silently. "The fighters in our Dojo of Limits are very united." Jiang Yin pointed towards the skyscraper. "Look, that building is the headquarters for the fighters of the Dojo of Limits in Jiangnan City. Virtually every person that walks out of that building is a fighter." "Virtually every single one?" Luo Feng gasped. Looking through the glass of the building, there were almost 100 people inside. "There is a good 200 million population in Jiangnan City. How could we be short on fighters?" Jiang Yin laughed. "In this building, the first floor is the lobby is for chatting and eating. The 2nd to 9th floors are used for warrior-level training. The 10th to 19th floors are for the general-level fighters. And for 20 and above is where conferences are held." Luo Feng, a bit confused, asked, "Instructor, fighters are split into warrior and general levels?" Fighters are mainly split into the warrior level, the general level, and the extremely rare battle lord level. Jiang Yin explained quietly. Most people are in the warrior level. Many fighters stay in the warrior level forever. And the warrior level is split into beginner warrior, intermediate warrior, and elite warrior. Most of the fighters who just passed their exams belong to the beginner warrior level. Luo Feng, with your current strength, you're probably an intermediate warrior, Jiang Yin said. Luo Feng nodded. Looks like with his strength, he's still at the bottom level of the fighters. You can probably kill warrior-level fighters with heated weapons, but you can't kill most general-level fighters with heated weapons, Jiang Yin said. For example, if you fire a heavy machine gun at a general-level fighter, he can easily dodge using just his speed and reaction speed. The general-level fighters are considered as the elites. Even though you have good talent, you're still young, so you're just a rookie, Jiang Yin laughed. Luo Feng could only rub his forehead. Luo Feng knew a lot about the powerful fighters. For example, the fighter who cut the black-crowned golden eagle in half on television. Even with his spiritual force, he probably couldn't even touch a hair. Those above the general level are the battle lords. Jiang Yin spoke in admiration. Those are the truly powerful warriors. Each one can easily walk in a storm of bullets. Their speed is as fast as lightning, and their reaction speed is even more incredible. A punch or kick from them can destroy an entire apartment. Battle Lord. This is a Battle Lord. Luo Feng listened with his breath hold. Warrior, General, Battle Lord. With his current level, he's only an intermediate warrior. Maybe after using his spiritual force, his strength will increase, and he might have a chance of getting into the general level. Instructor, are there any higher levels than the Battle Lord? Asked Luo Feng. Yes. Jiang Yin smiled and nodded. There are existences above the Battle Lord level. Each one of them has a sky-shattering, earth-shaking power. When faced with such fighters, even countries have to respect them. However, there are barely any people like this. Even our entire country of China has 2 or 3 people like this. Luo Feng was stunned. Even China, one of the 5 countries, only had 2 or 3 people above the Battle Lord level. So the fighters are usually split into the warrior, general, and battle lord categories, explained Jiang Yin. Of course, the world uses your fist strength, speed, and reaction speed to gauge your strength. They also use your battle records. Battle records? Luo Feng was confused. Yes, Luo Feng, with your current fitness level, you should be at the intermediate warrior level. However, after you become a fighter, you're technically a beginner warrior. Only after you kill enough monsters and powerful monsters will you be able to qualify as an intermediate warrior, Jiang Yin sighed, since some people have better technique while others have better fitness levels. Others have all sorts of tricks up their sleeves. So to gauge their strength, the only standard is the battle record. Luo Feng nodded. Yes. Even if their body fitness levels are worlds apart, a person with a lower fitness level can still kill a person with a higher one. Keep working and get to the general level. Then you'll be the pride of our Yangzhou city, Jiang Yin laughed. Brother Yin Luo, who came to find me last time, is a general level fighter. Oh, Luo Feng slightly nodded. If he used his spiritual force, how strong would he be? Would he be able to compare to a general level fighter? Only time will tell. As Luo Feng and Jiang Yin talked, they quickly arrived at a 3-story villa. This villa took up a huge amount of space. A bald, old veteran yelled from the balcony of the 2nd floor. Jiang Yin, hurry up and come up. Come, go up with me. Jiang Yin brought Luo Feng and quickly entered the villa. The 2nd floor of the villa was completely empty and clearly smaller than Yang Zhou's Jian Section's dojo of Limits Training Hall. Chief Jiang Yin loudly greeted as he entered the 2nd floor. Luo Feng was slightly surprised. Instructor Jiang Yin never greeted anyone like this, not even Chief Instructor Wu Tong. Jiang Yin, this young man is Luo Feng, right? Said the soft voice. Yes, Chief, Jiang Yin respectfully responded. Luo Feng looked around carefully. There were 5 people standing beside the bald old veteran. 4 of them wore white suits. The 4 of them stood behind a black tang suit wearing middle-aged man. This man was skinny, had a hooked nose, and his eyes were filled with warmth and happiness. he gave off a vibe of kindness. Jiang Yin immediately glared at Luo Feng, which caused Luo Feng to realize. Hello, Chief. Yep. The middle-aged man slightly nodded and spoke. Old Bai, you guys can start. Assess this young man's strength. Certainly, Uncle Bai also responded respectfully. Luo Feng muttered to himself. Instructor Jiang Yin didn't greet Chief Instructor Wu Tong like this. This Uncle Bai, who has a high position at the dojo of Limit's headquarters, also treats this chief respectfully. Just who is this chief? Nevertheless, it is clear that the chief is a man of high authority. D. All the switches on the fist strength tester machine and the speed tester machine were turned on. Whoa! All the security cameras on the second floor's training hall were turned on to record Luo Feng's performance. The 4 men and women in white suits immediately started moving, whether it was using their laptops or personally checking if the machines were in good condition. Uncle Bai, no problems, said a young woman. Okay, Uncle Bai looked towards Luo Feng. Luo Feng, begin testing. First start with strength. Luo Feng took in a deep breath and headed towards the fist strength tester. Whether it was Jiang Yin, Uncle Bai, the 4 white suits wearing men and women, or the High Chief, all of their gazes landed upon Luo Feng. Luo Feng, who seemed relaxed, suddenly exploded like a panther. Pung! The explosive fist landed on the machine. Luo Feng immediately looked at the display. 3110 kg. Not bad, kiddo. The silent chief smiled and nodded. Next category. The results for speed and reaction speed soon came out. Speed, 58m/s. Reaction speed, beginner warrior. Perfect score. Intermediate warrior. Excellent. Phew. Luo Feng walked out of the red circle of the reaction speed tester and let out a breath after seeing his scores were normal. Not bad. Good thing I didn't mess up at the most important time. Jiang Yin, who was next to Luo Feng, also relaxed, since some people can't show their true skill when affected by too much pressure. Out of the 3, reaction speed is the best. The Tang suit wearing middle-aged man smiled and nodded. He's also 18 years old, which is in the restricted range. The Tang suit wearing middle-aged man looked at Jiang Yin and smiled. A genius has came out of your Jian section. Good work, Jiang Yin. Jiang Yin couldn't help but to show a face of happiness. As long as Luo Feng works hard enough. Yup. The Tang suit wearing middle-aged man's gaze landed on Luo Feng. Luo Feng, are you willing to join my dojo of limits? I'm sure Jiang Yin has already told you all of the conditions. I am willing to join. Luo Feng had no hesitation. Very good. The Tang suit wearing middle-aged man clapped his hands. According to the rules, you can pick a villa either here in the main sector or in Yangzhou City. You have the right to live there, but not to sell it. All of the villas in our dojo of limits area are all inhabited by fighters. Other than that, you get $20 million. You also get the Daoyin technique, the blade scroll, and the agility scroll as long as they are below 50 million. The Tang suit wearing middle-aged man laughed. Am I right? Yes, Luo Feng nodded. The Tang suit wearing middle-aged man looked towards a white suit wearing woman. Go get the contract, but change one of the points. Luo Feng can pick any Daoyin technique, agility scroll, and offensive scroll. As long as they are within another 50 million, they're all free. I'll pay for it. Yes, Chief. The white suit wearing woman looked at Luo Feng in shock and went to get the contract. Chief. Luo Feng was shocked. Before, the 3 scrolls had to be below 50 million. Now the cap is raised by another 50 million, and the chief is paying for it. Luo Feng, you're not bad. The Tang suit wearing middle-aged man smiled. I like you, don't mind this small change. Small change? Luo Feng was surprised. From 50 million to 100 million, in other words, this chief has to pay millions. And that is small change? Even a general-level fighter probably doesn't have this much to spare. Thank you, Chief, thanked Luo Feng. The Tang suit wearing middle-aged man smiled. The contract was brought over and quickly signed by the Tang suit wearing middle-aged man. The white suit wearing woman carried the contract and pinned over to Luo Feng. Sign here, here, and here. Luo Feng scanned the contract. The contract was crystal clear. All of the points were straightforward. There was none of that headache-causing business jargon. Luo Feng signed. Welcome, Luo Feng, To our dojo of limits family. The Tang suit-wearing middle-aged man smiled and extended his hand. Luo Feng did the same, and they shook hands. From today on, you can move into the fighter's villa area, the Tang suit-wearing middle-aged man smiled. As for your money and scrolls, you'll receive them when you officially become a fighter. Your money will be transferred to your fighter account. Luo Feng nodded. All right, my name is Zhu Getao. Don't forget that, kiddo. The Tang suit-wearing middle-aged man smiled, and soon left the building with the 4 white suit-wearing men and women. The second floor of the villa was empty. Only Uncle Bai, Jiang Yin, and Luo Feng were left. Phew, my breathing was a bit tense with the chief's presence. Jiang Yin laughed loudly. I also had no idea that the chief would come, said Uncle Bai. Luo Feng asked with uncertainty. Instructor, Uncle Bai, just who is this chief? Ha, kiddo, you're in luck. The chief saw your instructor and raised your cap by another 50 million. Uncle Bai looked at Luo Feng. But the thing that surprises me the most is that the chief told you his name. Looks like he really does like you. Name? Luo Feng didn't realize what it meant for the chief to give someone his name. NOV.L.B/JNN. Luo Feng had no initial reaction after hearing the name Zhu Getao. He just sighed to himself. The name Zhu Gub is quite rare. Luo Feng, using our words, that instructor is one of the big 4 of our Jiangnan dojo of limits. Jiang Yin smiled. Big 4? Luo Feng was startled. Uncle Bai glared at Jiang Yin and said in a quiet voice, This is all private. In the Jiangnan dojo of limits headquarters, the chairman has the highest authority, followed by the 3 chiefs. The chairman and the 3 chiefs make up what most fighters privately call the Big 4. Each one of them holds an immense amount of authority and power. If you want to become a chief, you have to at least be an elite general-level fighter. At the same time, your dojo contribution must be high, and you also need a lot of support from other general-level fighters. Oh! Luo Feng was surprised. There are 3 large factors in becoming a chief: strength, contribution, and support. Luo Feng, to a chief, 50 million really isn't that much, said Jiang Yin in a quiet voice. From my point of view, the reason why the chief values you so much is because you're still so young. Only 18 years old. He has decided that you have hope in the future, and you have the potential to become a general-level fighter. So today, he invested 50 million to help you a bit. Luo Feng nodded. Uncle Bai laughed on the side. However, Luo Feng, don't get cocky. You do have good talent, but becoming a general-level fighter is extremely difficult. The chief only thought that you have a sliver of hope, just a possibility. And because of that small possibility, he gave me 50 million? Luo Feng gasped. The dojo's rules were strict. The rules were that the 3 scrolls couldn't exceed 50 million. Even the chief couldn't do anything to change that. He can only take out money from his own pocket to build upon the original foundation of 50 million. When fighters are growing, the type of scroll used has a huge impact on them. Well, leave that thought aside for now, Luo Feng. The fact that the chief is giving you special treatment can only mean good things. The chiefs have broad connections, whether it's the army, the circle of powerful fighters, the government, and all sorts of powerful families. Each chief has their own set of connections. The chief is one of the most powerful figures in Jiangnan City, Jiang Yin couldn't help but to say. Luo Feng nodded. The fact that the chief is giving him special treatment is a good thing. What's the point of thinking about all of this? Since the chief is helping him, he just needs a chance in the future to return the favor. Luo Feng, when are you going to move into Yangzhou City's fighter area? Or will you move into main sector? Asked Jiang Yin. Luo Feng slightly hesitated. His parents' friends were virtually all in Yangzhou City. His own good friends were in Yangzhou City too. I'll move into the Mingwest sector, answered Luo Feng. At night, the streetlights in the southern shore region were lit up. There were 3 middle-aged men who were drenched in sweat, laughing and talking as they walked down the road. You could smell the smell of wood and paint if you go near them. My waist is becoming unbearably painful. I guess I have to sleep face down tonight, said a burly man as he held his waist and said in pain, My prostrate also hurts. I guess it's time to get a checkup at a hospital. Damn, that costs a lot of money though. Old Tian, why don't you tell our boss and take a rest for 2 days? You can start working again when you feel better, said Luo Feng's father, Luo Hongguo. Yeah, old Tian. It's not worth ruining your body, said the slightly fat brute on the side. Okay, I'll be heading home first, said the burly middle-aged man. He turned and headed towards a cone-shaped apartment. The slightly fat brute and Luo Hongguo sighed and said goodbye as they headed towards another cone-shaped apartment. Luo Hongguo slowly walked towards his home under the dim light of the streetlights. 32nd floor. Luo Hongguo stood on the first floor and looked at the stairs. As of now, climbing up 32 floors is easy for most people. However, for Luo Hongguo, who has been doing manual labor for an entire day, even walking is tiring. My neck and waist are a bit sore. I should find some time to rest. Luo Hongguo climbed the stairs all the way up to the 32nd floor. Ding dong, ding dong. Luo Hongguo stood outside the door and pressed the doorbell. He was too lazy to take the keys out of his pocket. Ka! When the door was opened, he saw a huge, extravagant meal on the table. There were a dozen different dishes. Their family doesn't even have this much on New Year's. What's going on? All of this food, even though Luo Hongguo wasn't too happy, he still walked in the house with a smiling face. Dan, 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 Dan. Luo Hua yelled while sitting on his wheelchair. Dad, welcome home. Dad! Luo Feng obediently brought some tea to his father and said, from now on, Dad won't have to wear this uniform anymore. Luo Hongguo was shocked. Luo Gong Xian Lan, who was carrying the rice bowls, smiled at Luo Hongguo. Our son just signed a contract with the Dojo of Limits. Once he passes the fighter combat exam, he'll receive $2 billion. He even received a private villa. He brought the keys to it home. What? Luo Hongguo was startled. Xian Lan? What did you just say? Dad, look, Luo Feng gave Luo Hong with a signed contract. Luo Hongguo took it and looked carefully, from the very first word to the very last word. Luo Hongguo didn't dare miss anything. He looked at this contract as if he was looking at a wedding certificate. All the terms on the contract were very clear. This? Don't you sign the contract with the Dojo of Limits after the fighter combat exam? Luo Hongguo was in a state of disbelief. And how come there's $2 billion? Before, when Luo Feng passed the prospective fighter exam, Luo Hongguo carefully checked. When a fighter joins the dojo, they only get $100 million. Dad, this is because brother's a genius, Luo Hua said as he made a strange laugh. What's the most important thing in this age? The genius is within the fighters. All of us are able to live in this villa? Luo Hongguo looked towards his son Luo Feng. Gong Xian Lan laughed on the side. If you want to live there, you can go right now. Ha. Luo Hongguo couldn't even control himself anymore. Tears were welling up in his eyes. Even after all of these years, there was no chance of him changing with his current job, even if he worked for the rest of his life. He has worked so hard for his family. And now, there's finally a chance to change. He can immediately live in the legendary private villa. Indeed, a private villa is a legendary existence for a regular person. After the Grand Nirvana period, a city has to hold 200 million people, so land is extremely valuable. Since villas take up so much space, you can't even get them with money. Even the few very rich people who inhabit the villas have to pay an enormous tax. Even I, Luo Hongguo, has an opportunity to live in a villa. Luo Hongguo couldn't control his happiness. Even my dog of a boss home isn't going to be as good as mine. Yup, Luo Hua was starting to get excited too. Our home will have huge windows and a huge bath. It'll also have a very huge living room. Our television and laptops will all be equipped with voice recognition systems. Our living room's television's display will be at least 200 inches wide. We can even roll around on our beds. A bed to roll around on. I've been wishing for one for ages, Luo Hua said excitedly. When Luo Feng saw his dad and brother like this, he was truly happy inside. Why did he work so hard? Wasn't it all just for this day? Dad, Mom, sit down, let's eat, Luo Feng laughed. I'm gonna take a shower, Luo Hongguo laughed loudly. In the future, I won't have to wear this uniform already. I'll contact my boss about this. Times. Tonight, Luo Feng's family was filled with a never-before-seen happiness. This home, which was only 36 ping, has housed this family of 4 for so many years. Even though they weren't satisfied with this home, for example, the parents have to sleep on the couch and rarely any sunlight gets in. The bathroom is pitifully small. There are just too many flaws. However, right when they were about to leave, Luo Feng's family was a bit hesitant, since there were way too many memories in this home. However, people have to go higher. The morning of the second day, a large truck was parked in front of the apartment. Luo Feng and his family started to move their things onto the truck. Old Luo, what's happening? How come you're moving? Sister Lan, what are you doing so early in the morning? Many familiar friends and neighbors in this small sector curiously asked Luo Hongguo and Gong Xian Lan. Haha, my son Feng joined the dojo of limits, so we're moving to the Mingyue sector. Luo Hongguo answered with pride. Wang San, you better come to the feast I host in my home. Out of all the people who have lived in this poor apartment, who isn't hoping to make a change for themselves one day? Luo Hongguo changed, and he relied on his son. Old Luo's son sure is great. He actually joined the dojo of limits. Yeah, he's great. I wonder when my son can become that great too. Now old Luo got lucky and made a change for himself. The rumor spread from each person to 10 others, from 10 others to 100 others. Momentarily, the news spread across the entire Southern Shore region and even to other apartments in other regions. They all knew that Luo Hongguo's son has joined the dojo of limits and their family will be moving to the Mingyue sector. This is an unbelievably huge, joyous event, which also made many other teenagers hope to help their families. When you want to find me, go straight to the Mingyue sector. However, give me a call before you come, so I can contact the guards, said Luo Feng to his good friend Wei Wen. Okay, Wei Wen excitedly hit Luo Feng's chest. I knew that you could do this, Luo Feng. Who cares about high school exams? Can 1 in 10,000 college graduates or military academy graduates live in a private villa? Jeez, I'll be sure to come look at your home in a few days. I haven't even stepped into a villa before. Very quickly, under the gazes of the numerous men, women, and children, Luo Feng and his family rode a car, which was followed by a truck filled with things they couldn't bear to throw away. Luo Feng and his family left the Southern Shore region and entered the fighters' Mingyue sector. NOV L B / JNN. Noon, at the entrance in front of the Mingyue sector. 6 soldiers holding real guns were guarding the gate at both sides, scanning the surroundings. Stop! One of the guards immediately raised his assault rifle and pointed it at the incoming car. Gee! That car made an emergency brake. Luo Feng and his family came out of the car, and a bald, old man came out of the guardsman's lounge. He laughed. Luo Feng, right? Last time I saw you for your prospective fighter exam, I knew your future was limitless. However, I didn't think you'd be coming to live in our sector so quickly. I was contacted yesterday. Hurry, come and help them move their things. Luo Feng, we have people to help you move your things. These moving companies aren't allowed to enter here, laughed the bald, old man. We understand, Father Luo Hongguo laughed and nodded. At once, 7 soldiers rushed out of the sector and speedily helped move the things. The men from the moving company watched with awe. After that, Luo Feng and his family moved into the Mingyue sector. Luo Feng looked at the limit hall in the center and then looked at his surroundings. There were small bridges, flowing rivers, fake mountains and ponds, and a villa that was encircled by flowing water. From now on, this will be my home. Luo Feng turned his head to his parents and his brother on his wheelchair. At this time, his parents and his brother all looked with excitement towards the small sector. Mr. Luo Feng, this in front of you shall be your home. A few soldiers were moving things, and a young woman smiled as she held a few papers. Number 199 will be Mr. Luo Feng's home. This villa has 3 floors and a basement. The 3rd floor also has a large terrace. The total area is 512 ping. If you count the basement, garden, and terrace, then it nears 800 ping. Luo Feng and his family exchanged glances. And then they closely looked at this luxurious villa with red and white walls. This will be their home. 36 ping? Near 800 ping. Luo Hua on his wheelchair couldn't help but to mutter. Late at night on July 31st, in Mingyue Sector's number 199 villa. On the second floor in this villa, there were 4 huge rooms. A bedroom, a media room, a guest room, and a gigantic training hall. This training hall was at least 120 ping and took up half of the second floor. Late into the night, the street light shined through the glass of the media room and refracted into the training hall. Luo Feng, wearing a loose dojo uniform, silently kneeled on the floor. 2 streams of light constantly and rapidly circled around Luo Feng's body. As if they were happy, joyous birds, they flew around the dojo quickly and flexibly. After a while, the 2 streams of light slowed down and floated next to Luo Feng. They were 2 throwing knives. With my current level of spiritual force, controlling things isn't too hard. However, if I control like 4 of 5 knives, the speed, power, etc. diminish, other than trying to control his new strength. Luo Feng has put most of this month's work on his spiritual force training. While Luo Feng was living in the Mingyue sector this month, he met and talked with many fighters. Luo Feng also confirmed one thing, that his telekinesis is indeed spiritual force. I'm taking the fighter combat exam tomorrow, so I should rest well tonight. Luo Feng stood up and opened the glass door, and then headed to his bedroom to sleep. August 1st noon. Under the leadership of a fighter, 30 or so prospective fighters, including Luo Feng and Yang Wu, rushed towards the train station. Kuyuchi. The train was moving quickly into the station, and the sounds of the wheels grinding against the tracks were weak. The carriages of the train were all filled with clamor, but were also completely sealed. There were no windows to look out of. In each carriage, a person appeared on the large display. Inside the carriage, many prospective fighters were seated. Fellow prospective fighters, future fighters, I am from the HR Alliance. A middle-aged man was speaking on the carriage's display. I'm sure all of you have heard of the HR Alliance before. It's the strongest, wealthiest organization and the organization with the most fighters. I'm sure everyone is also familiar with the HR Alliance's other name, the Underground Alliance. All the prospective fighters inside the carriage quieted down. Luo Feng and Yang Wu sat side by side, heads raised towards the large display. Crazy. You've heard of the Underground Alliance before, right? Laughed Yang Wu. They're seriously wealthy. The wealthiest organization on Earth. Even wealthier than a country. I know. Luo Feng laughed. While he lived in the Mingyue sector for the past month, he has learned of many basic information from the fighters in the same area. Prior to the Grand Nirvana period, places like the United States of America and Europe all had powerful families controlling them from behind. For example, the Morgan family, the Rockefeller family, the Onassis family, etc. These families virtually controlled over half of the world's wealth. However, when the Grand Nirvana period came and the monsters attacked, many smaller countries were destroyed. The larger countries that had powerful armies all fended for themselves and strengthened their governments. At this time, many of the old, powerful families were afraid of being overpowered by the government's armies. So they teamed up and created the HR Alliance, or the Human Rights Alliance. Human Rights Alliance, it sounds good. However, it's an alliance that centers around the powerful families. It's called by fighters the Underground Alliance. Our alliance has the world's largest communication platform for fighters. Here, you can accept high-paying missions. Our alliance has power and influence all over the world. Once you join our alliance and you become one of us, you'll receive top-class service, whether it's in the USA or the European Union. Our alliance has the largest army and the most power in the government. Join us. The middle-aged man spoke for 15 minutes. All future fighters, a man who had a strict face on appeared on the screen. Let me introduce myself. I am Jiangnan City Security Agency's Deputy Chief. My name is Liu. In our country of China, there is no doubt that our government's army is the strongest. Join our government, join our army, and no matter where you go in China, you'll have the greatest support. Everyone, the person on the screen changed again. I am the chief of Jiangnan City's Thunder Dojo headquarters, Wang. Our Thunder Dojo was created by the fastest and invincible fighter, Thunder Lord. All over the world, Our Thunder Dojo has branches. All future fighters, we have introduced the previous three. No need to say, everyone knows I'm from the Dojo of Limits. The person on the screen changed to another person. My name is Yu Gu. The Dojo of Limits is the strongest dojo on Earth and was created by the strongest fighter. In our dojo, we hold the strongest power on Earth. The four advertisements raised up discussion between the prospective fighters in the carriage. Second brother, after becoming a fighter, which side will you join? I think the Dojo of Limits is pretty good. I'll join the Underground Alliance. You can earn the most money there, haha. The Thunder Dojo gives fighters better conditions, even a better than the Dojo of Limits. Joining the Thunder Dojo seems like a good choice too. The excited discussions of the prospective fighters spread around the carriage. Luo Feng and Yang Wu also discussed in a low voice. Crazy, my instructor and my senior both joined the Dojo of Limits. Now, even you have joined the Dojo of Limits, so of course I will too. Even if I join the Dojo of Limits, I can still receive missions from the Underground Alliance. We can choose to buy things from both the Dojo of Limits and from the Underground Alliance. The Dojo of Limits, the Thunder Dojo, the Underground Alliance, and the government's army. Luo Feng was clear. Within all of those powers, the government's army was no doubt the strongest. For the Underground Alliance, which is made out of many powerful families from all over the world, even a country would try to avoid angering them, since the Underground Alliance controls nearly the entire world's economy. The Thunder Dojo and the Dojo of Limits are behind the first two in power. However, joining these two large dojos represents freedom. Brother Yang, how many prospective fighters do you see on this carriage? Luo Feng looked around and saw that there were over 100 people inside just one carriage. There are a lot of people. Yang Wu curled his lip. I just heard from other people's discussions how there are 2 fighter combat exams each year. And in each fighter combat exam, over 1,000 prospective fighters from all over Jiangnan City come to take it. Over 1,000? Luo Feng was shocked. However, that seemed right, since there was a population of 200 million in Jiangnan City and 10 million people in the entirety of Yangzhou City. In average, there are just a few dozen more fighters. After a while, fellow prospective fighters, the train will be entering the station shortly, so please prepare to get off, came a sound from the speaker in the carriage. Shortly after, the train started decelerating until it stopped. NOV, L, B //JNN. The carriage's doors opened, and all the prospective fighters from each carriage got off. Very quickly, the mighty crowd of prospective fighters entered a huge military camp, which took a vast amount of space. Various heated weapons could be seen on the outer parts of the camp. One cannon was pointed towards the outskirts of the camp. Large amounts of soldiers were all holding various sophisticated weapons. Luo Feng and the group of prospective fighters looked around. Look outside the camp, Yang Wu excitedly pointed far away. Luo Feng looked carefully, and, other than the camp's security line, there were a few starving monsters who were growling. However, these monsters didn't dare approach the camp. Ga. An ear-piercing howl made all of the fighters simultaneously raise their heads, and they saw hundreds of densely packed Fei-Qin monsters howl across the dark, blue sky. According to the books, after you leave the city, you can see all sorts of monsters. The books were indeed right, Luo Feng's eyes flashed. Humans can only live in the cities or in military camps. Only a fighter can come out here alone and fight with those powerful monsters. Everyone, a loud sound carried to every single fighter's ears. Welcome to Jiangnan City's northern military sector. This time, the 1680 of you will take your fighter combat exam hosted in our northern military sector. I hope most of you will pass, and I hope all of you will live through this exam. There were at least 10 officers at the desk yelling names one by one. Prospective fighters whose names were called all went to pick up their uniforms and weapons. Luo Feng, that ringing sound. Right when Luo Feng heard it, he sprinted up there. This is your battle uniform, your battle boots, and the second series ghost blade you need. The heaviest one we prepared was 98 kilograms. We don't have any heavier ones. The officer passed a set of objects to Luo Feng. Here is a communication watch, which can send mail and has GPS. This is a hexagonal shield. While the officer was saying that, He was a bit suspicious as he looked into Luo Feng's eyes. A prospective fighter actually asked for such a heavy ghost blade. Quite weird. Luo Feng slightly smiled and sprinted away, holding the near 200 kilograms load of items. In the plaza, each of the 1680 fighters received their requested weapons that were most suitable for them. Each of them used cold weapons. This was the requirement for the fighter combat exam. Heated weapons were banned. After they received their things, everyone returned to their own resting areas and changed into their battle gear. There was laughter all over the open plaza. At this time, Luo Feng was equipped with his metal alloy battle boots, military standard trousers, and a battle vest with some special Kaluo alloy material inside. He also had his hexagonal shield and ghost blade on his back, and was happily talking with the fighter beside him. If you put down everything I have equipped, it'll be worth at least 7 to 10,000, a crew-cut teenager excitedly pointed to his uniform. This trouser and vest aren't the best fighter equipment. They're only lent to us for the fighter combat exam. However, it can defend against the weakest H-grade monster's claws, which is much better than the bullshit bulletproof vest back at town. A regular bullet will never be able to pierce this, and a H-grade monster will never be able to rip this apart. You can't rip it apart. A girl with a stern expression laughed coldly on the side. Even if the monster can't rip apart the uniform, just the impact itself can break your bones and damage your internal organs. This big brother isn't so weak and fragile. The crew-cut teenager sneered and glared at the girl. How about, little girl, we go over there and test this brother's strength? That's enough, Luo Feng frowned. Yes, Brother Luo. We'll listen to Brother Luo, the crew-cut teenager laughed. The news of Luo Feng being scouted by the Dojo of Limits was spread from 1 to 10, and 10 to 100 in the prospective fighter community. Out of the 1680 prospective fighters, only 3 of them were recruited by the Dojo of Limits and the Thunder Dojo. The prospective fighters knew that these 3 people were special. Luo Feng, a yelling sound from far away was heard. It was the Limit Hall's chief instructor, Wu Tong. Uncle Wu. Luo Feng ran towards him after telling Yang Wu and the others beside him. In the past month, Luo Feng lived in the Mingyue sector, so naturally he would be close to Chief Instructor Wu Tong, who also lived in the same sector. He called familiarly, Uncle Wu. Luo Feng, come with me. After Wu Tong said that, he started to lead the way. Luo Feng was full of doubts, but didn't say anything. They quickly arrived at the second floor of a quiet apartment. In the living room on the second floor, there were lots of people seated together. Luo Feng looked around. Out of all of these people, he only recognized one of the big 4 of the Jiangnan City's Dojo of Limits headquarters, Zhu Gutao. Chief greeted Luo Feng loudly. Luo Feng, go sit over there with Wu Tong. Zhu Gutong, wearing a dark battle uniform with faintly glowing silver pieces, said as he laughed quietly. Zhu Gu. This is the Luo Feng you talked about? Let me see, compared to our Thunder Dojo, he isn't that good, isn't he? A burly man wearing a dark, purple battle uniform sat across from Zhu Gutao. When he spoke, the sound seemed to echo within his chest. Our Thunder Dojo recruited 2 people early, one whose fitness level is on par with your Luo Feng, and another who is a firearms genius. The burly man looked to the 2 young men on his side, who immediately stood up in response. My name is Yuan Dong, said a teenager who seemed solemn and had a purple birthmark on his face. My name is Ma Xiao. Another teenager was smiling and looked beautiful. Yes, we can use the word beautiful for this teenager. If he was born a girl, it would probably be the kind that would bring calamity. Luo Feng smiled and nodded. Luo Feng, you already know. Luo Feng, the solemn teenager spoke. Do you have any balls to compete? Tonight at the fighter combat exam. Let's see who can get first place. The solemn teenager's eyes flashed, as if he saw the most delicious kind of food, full of desire. Not interested, Luo Feng shook his head. The solemn teenager was startled, but then laughed coldly and didn't say anything further. Zhu Gutao and the burly man from the Thunder Dojo laughed on the side. Zhu Gu, your little kiddo seems quite interesting. He's quite calm, didn't let his head get hot when provoked. I kind of like this young man. Luo Feng, any plans to join my Thunder Dojo? Go, Zhu Gutao glared. I'm just joking. Man, you aren't interesting, the burly man laughed. Zhu Getao glared. We should go too. The fighter combat exam is going to start soon. Luo Feng and the 1680 powerful prospective fighters walked for at least half an hour under the lead of a soldier. They reached the outer part of a town. It was already evening at this time, and the sun has dropped. Roar! Various howls that makes your heart skip a beat could be heard in the town. The town was surrounded by barbed wire and had a large amount of soldiers patrolling with guns. Hurry, there aren't enough monsters inside. Bring another 1,200 iron fur boars, 300 G shadow cats, and another 500 mastiff tigers. As the command went through the town, Luo Feng and the others didn't have to wait much longer until they saw huge trucks coming. Each of the trucks had angry howling coming from them. Luo Feng and the large amounts of fighters went to look closely. In each of the trucks were cages, and in each of the cages were locked-up monsters. Those angry howlings made some inexperienced prospective fighters' hearts tremble. Luo Feng, Chief Instructor Wu Tong, laughed beside Luo Feng. Even if you're skilled and strong, that doesn't mean you can kill the monsters. When some people see blood and are faced with a chance of death, they won't even be able to bring out a tenth of their strength. So for this combat exam, the main goal is to train your mind. You have to get used to fighting to the death with monsters and be merciless. NOVL, B/JNN. Understood, Luo Feng nodded. These monsters are all the weakest H-level monsters. They're equivalent to a beginner warrior level fighter, said Wu Tong. Their weak point is their low intellect. However, their strong point is that they are very aggressive and cruel. So in every fighter combat exam, there's always a cruel case where a prospective fighter that dies. Luo Feng nodded. There's no way that fighting to the death with real monsters could be safe. After a bunch of weak H-level monsters have been imported into the town, the amount of monsters in the town have reached a startling amount. Everyone, a ringing voice carried to every prospective fighter's ears. Luo Feng and every prospective fighter raised their heads to look, and they saw a military officer standing on a ruined 3-story apartment in the middle of the town as he spoke to all the prospective fighters. This time's combat exam will have the same rules as the past ones. From 6:30 p.m. tonight, we will begin. The exam will end at 6 a.m. tomorrow. The more monsters you slaughter, the more points you get. For each monster you slaughter, cut the monster's left ear off as proof. Remember, prospective fighters are not allowed to fight each other. Your movements and actions are all under our surveillance. Those who break the rules will immediately be shot and killed. Out of you 1680 prospective fighters, the top 60% will earn the right to become a fighter. The other 40% will fail and will have to take the next fighter combat exam. The officer's voice suddenly became cold. In other words, out of the 1680 of you, 1008 will pass and 672 will be disqualified. The prospective fighters who were listening below couldn't help but to start talking. An unbelievable 40% will be disqualified. Here's a reminder. Usually if one can kill 3 monsters, they pass. If you can only kill 2 monsters, it'll be up to luck. The officer's voice resonated in everyone's ears. When scores are the same, we use the amount of time used to kill the monsters and how injured you are to determine the rankings. So, when you finish killing the amount of monsters required, hurry and come out of the town. Remember, if you receive a heavy wound, press the emergency help button on your communication watch. Someone will immediately come and save you. However, that moment also represents the end of your fighter combat exam. The officer leaped. Whoosh! From the top of the apartment to the ground was at least a height of around 10 meters. And with 2 more consecutive leaps, he was already outside of town. All prospective fighters move out and enter Monster Town. The officer waved his hand. The 1680 prospective fighters were like a raging wave and poured into Monster Town. Shut the door, ordered the officer. Rumble. The only gate closed shut. The fighter combat exam officially begins. In the enclosed town, the 1680 prospective fighters rapidly spread out and started to hunt their prey. Brother Yang, are you going to challenge Monster Town alone? Luo Feng and Yang Wu stood next to a small supermarket's wall together. Yang Wu firmly nodded his head. Crazy, this time's fighter combat exam isn't just an exam. More importantly, it's a place for training your courage. When you enter the danger zone alone, the dangers you'll encounter are 10 to 100 times more dangerous than the ones here. If I even need your help in this monster town, then while I do in the future. Luo Feng nodded. You're right. Brother Yang, be careful. Okay, crazy. You should grab your chance too, reminded Yang Wu. This town is all filled with the weakest H-level monsters. There probably won't be any more opportunities in the future to train your blade on the weakest level of monsters. I understand. This is a rare chance to train our skill with the blade, smiled Luo Feng as he nodded. Okay, meet you in the town tomorrow morning. After saying that, Yang Wu looked carefully in all four directions and then swiftly jumped away. Luo Feng also quickly sprinted into a shady area. As nightfall approached, there was a huge searchlight illuminating the borders of the town. Most of the town was lit up, but there were also many places hidden in the dark. From what the fighters said in the small sector, the monsters are split into soldiers, commanders, and horde leaders. Luo Feng held his hexagonal shield with his left hand and his ghost blade with his right as he quietly stood in a ruined alley filled with dust. The soldier, or H-level monster, is as strong as a human beginner warrior. Even though there are many monsters in this town, there are mainly 3 different types. The cat monster with the primary trait of speed shadow cat, the powerful, heavy class iron fur boars, and the mastiff tiger, whose power and speed are great. Luo Feng scanned the area. Suddenly, a shadow approached from a ruined 2-story apartment. With Luo Feng's great vision, he saw that the shadow's fur was sharp as needles and was at least 1.5 meters tall. Its mouth had 2 gigantic tusks which reflected the light from the searchlight, which could make one's heart skip a beat. A regular boar that humans eat is probably only 60 to 70 centimeters tall. In other words, this monster is at least double the size of a domestic pig, almost as if it was a small truck. Iron fur boar? My first prey will be you. Luo Feng watched the iron fur boar and came out of the alley, right into the iron fur boar's field of vision. Growl NOV LB / JNN. As he stared at the iron fur boar in the eye, he held up his shield and blade. The monster made a weird growling sound and suddenly fiercely stepped on the concrete surface, making a cloud of dust. It carried a putrid current with it as it charged towards Luo Feng, as if it was a heavy hummer flying towards him. The 2 long, sharp tusks pointed forward like gigantic scimitars. Oh! Right when the iron fur boar charged, Luo Feng quickly dodged to the side. The iron fur boar didn't even have time to stop during its charge. And with a quick flash in his eyes, all the power on his body focused in his arm and unrelentlessly made a slash with his ghost blade. The ghost blade cut right across the iron fur boar's neck. Thump! The head of the iron fur boar was immediately detached from its body and flew up high. Fresh blood was spewing out of the area where it was cut from, and the body also flew at least 10 meters before falling. The body twitched for a bit on the ground and then finally died. Luo Feng took in 2 deep breaths. Luo Feng's heart shaked a bit after witnessing the gory scene. Killing a monster for the first time can indeed be a shock. No wonder Uncle Wu said that some prospective fighters can't bring out their strength after witnessing blood. Luo Feng reflected on his battle. The dodge just now was done pretty well, but the way I slashed across the iron fur boar's neck used up unnecessary strength. However, a regular prospective fighter probably could never cut off the iron fur boar's head. The iron fur boar's defense was powerful, but that was for a regular prospective fighter. Luo Feng's current strength is on par with an intermediate warrior-level fighter. Fighting with this iron fur boar is just like bullying. According to my fighter brothers at the Mingyue sector, you can't just use brute force when dealing with monsters. You have to grasp their weak point. Also, I can't believe I let my heart waver when I severed the iron fur boar's head. I must get used to this. In the future, I'll be fighting with monsters all the time with my life on the line. If my heart isn't prepared, I might lose my life in a crucial moment. Luo Feng understood that the more crucial the moment is, the more calm you have to be. However, Luo Feng's state of mind was pretty good, since people usually have a much larger reaction towards their first kill. Luo Feng walked towards the boar's head, and with one swipe of his hand, He cut off the boar's left ear and put it inside the bag he was carrying. First one, now towards the next, with a slight movement of his body. Luo Feng has already disappeared from the street. Only the corpse of the iron fur boar remained on the blood-stained street. With every passing second in this enclosed town, there were bloody battles taking place in every corner. Even though the H-level monsters are close to the prospective fighters in power, the humans have one advantage: intellect. The weakest H-level monsters don't have much intellect, only some basic bestial instincts. Around 8 p.m., on a 6-story high apartment, two shadows were swiftly fighting with each other. Hua! A cold light shone. Luo Feng's was kneeling on the platform. A trace of blood could be seen on the ghost blade he was holding. The other shadow was helplessly thrown aside as it left behind a trail of blood. This shadow cat is the fastest one out of the three monsters. Even though it's a H-level monster, it has a speed of 40 meters per second. Luo Feng stood up and walked over to it. The shadow cat on the floor's fur was gray, and its body wasn't too big, around half a meter long. This shadow cat's abdomen had a staggering wound. Even the inner organs were slashed open by Luo Feng's attack. For regular prospective fighters, this cat does indeed pose a threat. However, too bad it met me. Luo Feng shook his head and cut off the shadow cat's left ear. Luo Feng's speed is way faster than the shadow cat's. There's no helping it, since Luo Feng has already reached the level of an intermediate warrior. And within the intermediate warrior level fighters, Luo Feng counts as a stronger one. Fifth, Luo Feng carefully put away the spoils of war. Usually, there's a 100% chance of passing if you can kill 3 monsters. I already killed 5, so I pass for sure. Then now, I'll start seriously training my agility and blade. He killed monsters for points before, and now he has enough points. I'll use 1,000 kilograms of fist strength and 30 meters per second of speed to start fighting with these monsters. Luo Feng was practically bullying the monsters, since they were on a completely different level. But now, Luo Feng has suppressed his strength to make it equal with the enemies, so there's actually a point in training. When you enter the danger zone in the future, you can't just keep killing monsters weaker than you every time. Begin! Luo Feng was standing on the balcony of a residential apartment as he looked around and below him. HM? First one. Luo Feng saw a mastiff tiger, whose body was full of spots, near the top of a ruined 3-story apartment out of the corner of his eye. Luo Feng immediately flew towards it. With just one leap off of the balcony, he flew more than 10 meters and heavily landed onto the ruined roof. Even the floor violently shook as he landed. Luo Feng rolled on the ground with the force of the impact and directly flew towards the mastiff tiger. Howl! The mastiff tiger also came flying towards. A grim teenager, whose shirt was stained with blood, carried a dark moon blade as he arrogantly walked on the street. I wonder how many monsters Luo Feng has killed, thought the grim teenager. He is the only one out of the 1680 fighters whose strength is close to Luo Feng's. The genius who was scouted by the Thunder Dojo, Yuan. Although this time, there were 3 people who were scouted. However, one of them is a firearms genius whose fitness level isn't that high. Only Luo Feng and this Yuan are geniuses with similar fitness levels. Yuan Dong's gaze landed at a location. He only saw a shadow constantly fighting with 2 shadow cats. The 2 shadow cats hissed and speedily attacked with their claws. However, the shadow dexterously dodged the attacks as he fought the 2 shadow cats. Luo Feng, it takes you so long just to kill 2 shadow cats? I am so disappointed in you, shouted Yuan Dong as he laughed. Chi! Chi! As if lightning, the ghost blade in Luo Feng's hand made 2 slashes, and the 2 shadow cats immediately fell to the floor. After a few twitches, they stopped moving. So quick, Yuan Dong was shocked and thought to himself, and the blade made a clean cut towards the weak points of the shadow cats. Yuan Dong saw from Luo Feng's 2 slashes that Luo Feng's strength was not to be underestimated. I was going to play with you a bit more and continue training myself. Luo Feng looked at the corpses of the 2 shadow cats. However, that guy is annoying, and I don't want him to see me training my agility and blade. Luo Feng cut off the two shadow cat's ears, put it into his bag, and disappeared without even looking at Wandong once. In the enclosed town, the slaughter continued. Some prospective fighters instinctively pressed the emergency help button after getting injured in their first battle, and thus failing. Some prospective fighters become pale from shock after killing a monster. Some powerful prospective fighters get pumped up and excited after killing monsters. In a place not too far from the enclosed town, there was a large security screen in a tall structure displaying everything happening in each sector in the town. What a weak strategy! In one of the rooms of this large structure, a military officer was drinking with a burly man. The screens on the sidewalls were displaying the slaughter going on in the city. The burly man sighed. Watching these young men fight with these monsters reminds me of when we were young. Yet from a glance, most of them are all around 20 years old, which is the youngest yet most fragile point of their lives. The military officer also sighed. Old Wang. After a blink of an eye, we two brothers have become old. Back in the day, we were rookies in Jiangnan City too. Now you're the chief of the Thunder Dojo. Ha! The burly man laughed loudly. Iron Monkey, didn't you also get your way to Major General? The military instructor looked with shock at the display. The more he looked, the more shocked he became. Old Wang. Hurry and look. On the display was several videos of the town. Since there were so many cameras recording, the videos on the display change every so often. It changed. The military officer immediately pressed the telephone on the side and commanded, "Lock onto the prospective fighter just now from camera number 21. Lock onto him." Yes, an impressive sound came from the telephone. The burly man Wang looked suspiciously at his good brother. Iron Monkey, what did you just see? Old Wang. You'll see soon, the military instructor laughed mysteriously. In just a moment, the display changed to the video from before. In the video was 5 shadow cats constantly attacking a prospective fighter. These 5 shadow cats were 5 H-level shadow cats, and the prospective fighter held a hexagonal shield, a ghost blade, and looked very young. It was indeed Luo Feng. Oh, the burly man's eyes flashed. How about this? This kiddo's strong, isn't he? Said the military officer. This kiddo actually used this exam as a free chance to train himself. And look, his technique is insane. Ruwei class. The Ruwei class. The burly man's eyes flashed and stared at the 5 shadow cats who were attacking Luo Feng. Each of Luo Feng's dodges didn't make much motion, but easily dodged every attack from each of the shadow cats. The taste of this stroll completely took over these 2 powerful men. The Ruwei class technique, even many warlord-level fighters can't do it. His technique actually reached the Ruwei class. Amazing, amazing! The burly man took in a breath. He's only 18 years old. His technique is just as good as his fitness level. With good talent, your fitness level will be high. However, technique results from battle experience and a clear understanding of the basics. Only then can you enter the Ruwei class. How did you know he's 18 years old? The military officer jumped in surprise. You know him? He's Luo Feng. Fuck, the Dojo of Limits recruited him first, angrily shouted the burly man. The Dojo of Limits sure had some bullshit luck. This Luo Feng is only 18, but not only is his fitness level fantastic, but his technique is also amazing. Ruwei class at this age. What will he become in the future? Understand that even powerful warlord-level fighters haven't reached the Ruwei class in technique. Clearly your technique has to be insanely good to get into this level. In real combat, fitness level is just one side. Technique, skill, and willpower also come into play. No! The burly man slammed the table. We can't let the Dojo of Limits steal this genius. Thankfully, I was lucky and saw this scene while drinking with you, Iron Monkey. What are you planning to do? Laughed the military officer. What? Win him over. The burly man glared. I'll win him over no matter what. The Dojo of Limits might have not noticed this, but this young man's technique is astonishing. I'll win him over first. Isn't it just money? Sure, I'm lucky to encounter such a talented young man. Compared to him, Wandong is off by 18,000 miles. The military officer laughed. Iron Monkey, make a copy of this recording for me later, said the burly man. Sure, no problem, laughed the military officer as he nodded. In the dawn of the day, in the enclosed monster town, Luo Feng encountered and was surrounded by 3 mastiff tigers, 2 shadow cats, and 2 iron fur boars in a ruined sector. It took quite a bit of energy to gather up all 7 of these monsters here. Good. Keep coming. Just like that. Luo Feng was calm, and as if taking a walk, he occasionally stepped left, occasionally stepped right, and forwards and backwards. Sometimes he would slightly bend his waist, sometimes he would bend his body. With just these small, slight movements, the 7 monsters couldn't even touch a hair of Luo Feng's body. Growl. From the corner of his eye, Luo Feng noticed a mastiff tiger flying at him. Around him were 4 more monsters preparing to attack at the same time. Looking at the situation, his foot turned and his body immediately moved. Not good, barely missed, thought Luo Feng hopelessly. It seemed like the shadow cat's claw was about to grab onto Luo Feng's body, but strangely enough, Luo Feng's body suddenly moved 5 cm, which allowed him to just barely miss the attack. It sure is quite a challenge learning the legendary Ru Wei class technique. It seemed like Luo Feng dodged all the attacks, but in fact, Luo Feng himself was clear he failed, because in the last moment, he used his spiritual force on the hexagonal shield on his left arm to create a force of propulsion. It was because of this force that Luo Feng was able to move that 5 centimeters. In a battle, your technique is extremely important, which is why Luo Feng has been training his technique the entire night. Usually, technique training requires a very solid understanding in the basics, which usually takes 10 years of bitter work. And fighting with monsters for years drills the ways to dodge into your consciousness. Once you train enough, your reflexes will come in play no matter what the situation. Solid understanding in the basics, tons of training, and reflexes. These 3 levels are the basics of technique. Above these 3 is the Ru Wei class. The Ru Wei class means that you have virtually complete control over your strength and body and are able to use the smallest amount of energy to just barely dodge the attack. All kinds of dodging, just like it has been calculated by a computer. The reason why the Ru Wei class technique is so hard is because when you're just barely dodging, any kind of mistake will lead to the attack from the monster striking you. Once you're hit by a monster, most people get heavily injured if not killed. When training in the Ru Wei class technique, it isn't really effective to train with monsters who are much weaker than you. Luo Feng is being attacked by 7 monsters right now. His strength and speed are being used to their utmost capabilities. However, it is too difficult to not get touched at all when surrounded by 7 monsters. I guess I'm in the Ru Wei class now. I also use the smallest, slightest of movements to delicately dodge. Of course errors will happen sometimes. Luo Feng felt a bit tired, so the ghost blade that never attacked suddenly flourished and the monsters cried in anguish. 5 streams of fresh blood poured out, and 5 out of the 7 monsters were instantly killed. The other 2 realized the situation and ran away. However, after this night of training, my technique has at least doubled in skill. Luo Feng let out a smile. What kind of training could compare to real combat experience with a monster? And what kind of combat with monsters could compare with Luo Feng's extreme training? Only by challenging your body's limits can you know where the limit of your dodges are. This night of training has benefited Luo Feng greatly. Luo Feng is stronger than a H-level mastiff tiger, shadow cat, and an iron fur boar in a one-on-one. However, 7 monsters can kill a person. A fist can have 3,000 kilograms of strength, but a 2,000 kilograms charge from a monster is enough to heavily injure Luo Feng. Even that genius, Yuan Dong, wouldn't attempt such an extreme type of training, or else you might get pulled apart by the 7 monsters. But Luo Feng would dare to attempt such a thing, because he has his spiritual force. If he ever encounters any sort of danger, he can just use his spiritual force on his shield or his ghost blade to give him a boost and use that to dodge. Too bad this spiritual force can only be used on inanimate objects. Once it gets near a person, it gets absorbed into it. Luo Feng shook his head. His spiritual force couldn't be used to control humans and animals. He can only control things such as metal and wood. However, The spiritual force already gave Luo Feng plenty of joy. At least, he's skilled enough for Ru Wei class dodging. Of course, it was a different type of Ru Wei dodging, since when he makes a mistake, he can just use his spiritual force for a boost. However, just his dodging ability alone isn't any worse than the regular Ru Wei class. And it's also even more strange. Beep, beep, beep. An ear-piercing sound suddenly rang through the entire town. At the same time, a heavy voice also spread across the entire town. Time's up. All prospective fighters immediately returned to the exit of the town. The fighter combat exam is over? Luo Feng laughed. I'll keep doing this kind of Ru Wei class technique training until the day I won't need my spiritual force to help me. My technique will also reach the Ru Wei class. Luo Feng cut off the left ears of the 5 monsters, put it in his bag, and rushed towards the main gate of Monster Town. At the entrance of Monster Town, the prospective fighters left one by one. Virtually every prospective fighter had a few blood stains on them, whether it was their own blood or the monster's blood. There were even some prospective fighters who were being carried out by their friends. Beep, beep. An ear-piercing sound rang, and a large, heavy truck came out of the town. The truck was filled with the monster's corpses. Hey, these are the prospective fighters' corpses. Someone come pick them up. One of the large trucks stopped at the side, and there were indeed quite a bit of corpses. Some of them were missing large parts of their body, which were clearly bitten off by monsters. The truck dumped these corpses to the side. Ah, gone. Within a moment, quite a few prospective fighters were crying out. Some of them even went to the corpses and wailed. What are you crying about? A cold, domineering voice rang from a military officer, which caused quite a few angry glances to look over at him. But this military officer scanned the surroundings coldly. Who doesn't die when fighting with monsters? You chose to take the path of a fighter, so prepare yourself to die. Society gives fighters special rights. Why? Not for you to enjoy it, but because you kill large amounts of monsters, which benefits humanity. That's why you receive special benefits. Your position, your authority. You have to put your life on the line to receive all of this. In this exercise, you were given only the weakest of monsters, and they aren't even the type to form packs. If you can't even pass this, how will you expect to survive in the wilderness? The officer's speech made every prospective fighter quiet down, since they barely knew anything about monsters. The most difficult monster to deal with are the pack types, like the dog type, mastiff lion. Every time they move in a pack of around 10, so even an intermediate level fighter wouldn't approach them. 2 monsters left ears, next injured left arm. Lu Feng? Okay. 3 monsters left ears, not bad next. At the entrance of the town, each prospective fighter that came out went to turn in their ears they received from the slaughter to prove how many monsters they killed. Look, Luo Feng came out. It's the Luo Feng that the dojo of Limits scouted. I wonder how many monsters he killed. Just because his body fitness level is good doesn't mean he'll be good at killing monsters too. Most of the prospective fighters have already came out, and all of them were focusing on Luo Feng, who just walked out of the entrance. Luo Feng, Wan Dong, and Ma Xiao. These 3 were the prospective fighters that were scouted. 1 to 10 and 10 to 100, almost everyone here recognizes Luo Feng and the others. Right when he walked out, he was being stared at by a huge amount of prospective fighters, so Luo Feng couldn't help but to waver. Luo Feng, correct? Hand over the monster's left ears to me. There were 3 military officers sitting ahead, and 2 of them were using laptops while one of them was looking at Luo Feng. Yes. Luo Feng nodded and put down the bag he was carrying. Within a moment, a large amount of prospective fighters gathered around, and their gazes were all focused on Luo Feng's bag. They were all curious. How many monsters did Luo Feng kill? Hua! Luo Feng immediately turned the bag upside down and poured the large amount of ears into the metal pot. A small pile formed, which filled over half the pot. So many? This guy killed so many monsters? All the prospective fighters watching from afar were shocked. At that time, the military officer was counting up the ears, and soon after he smiled as he looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng, not bad, 36 monsters left ears in total. Until now, you have the most confirmed kills. HM, and you aren't injured either. Next, the military officer looked towards the oncoming people, and Luo Feng smiled as he walked away. After I pass the fighter combat exam, I'll become a true fighter too. Luo Feng was overjoyed. After that, Luo Feng joined the crowd and watched as the other people handed in their monsters' left ears. Some of them had no injury at all, but most of them were lightly injured, which would heal up in around 10 to 15 days of rest. There were also heavily injured prospective fighters. Yang Wu HM, not bad, 3 monsters' left ears, a light wound on the left shoulder. Next, Yang Wu also came back safely. Brother Yang, shouted Luo Feng from the crowd. Crazy, Yang Wu laughed loudly as he rushed over. How do you do? How many monsters did you kill? 36, Luo Feng and Yang Wu walked towards a corner. 36? Fuck, crazy, you're insane. These monsters were so hard to kill, Yang Wu glanced, especially that mastiff tiger. It was faster than me, and don't even get me started on its power. Its level is the same, but its power is way higher than a human fighter's. I pushed my life on the line just to kill 3-inch. Luo Feng laughed. Indeed, you can't underestimate H-level monsters. Even an intermediate warrior will have trouble facing 7 or 8 of them. Luo Feng could only train like he did because of his spiritual force. Wandong! It's Wandong, the genius prospective fighter the Thunder Dojo scouted. I wonder how many monsters' left ears he collected. I wonder, compared to Luo Feng, who's stronger? Yeah, the only person who can compete with Luo Feng is this Wandong. A wave of discussion arose, which made Luo Feng and Yang Wu, who were hiding at the back, raise their heads in surprisement. Yang Wu was even more shocked as he said, "That Wandong took until now to come out? Crazy. Apparently that Wandong's body fitness level isn't any worse than yours. I wonder how many monsters he killed." At this time, the prospective fighters standing at the front all stared at Wandong's bag, and the prospective fighters at the back all listened closely. There's a bunch of monsters' left ears. It seems like there's a lot. A lot of noise followed, and then the military officer's voice carried out, Wandong HM, 51 monsters' left ears in total. Haha, you have surpassed Luo Feng, and are temporarily the prospective fighter with the most confirmed kills. 51? So much more than Luo Feng. This Wandong is indeed strong. 51 monsters is out of this world. The prospective fighters who have experienced the might of the monsters themselves were shocked speechless. Crazy, this Wandong has so many more than you. Yang Wu was shocked. Is there a point in killing so many? Luo Feng gave a laugh that couldn't care less. He spent the entire night training his technique. If he really wanted to kill the weakest H-level monsters with Luo Feng's strength, he could just pick off monsters that are alone. With that, even 100 kills in a night wouldn't be weird. Luo Feng, a voice rang. Luo Feng turned his head and saw a military officer with a large mustache smile. Come with me, a friend wants to meet you. Right at the resting lounge ahead. Oh! Luo Feng was a bit suspicious. Meet me? But Luo Feng made no delay and immediately followed the large mustached man to the resting lounge. Before he entered, Luo Feng took off his blood-stained battle uniform and washed it a bit. He then changed into some fresh, clean clothes before entering. In the resting lounge, a burly man sat there with his eyes shut. They suddenly opened and, like lightning, looked at Luo Feng. Him? Luo Feng was shocked. This man he knew. It was the man who was talking to Chief Instructor Zhuge and one of the big 4 from the Thunder Dojo in Jiangnan City. My name is Wang Heng, and I'm the Chief Instructor of the Thunder Dojo. The man laughed. Luo Feng, sit with this Chief Instructor face to face? Luo Feng was shocked inside. He completely understood how much authority this man held. A dojo's chief instructor's authority could be compared to a wargot's. They have an astonishing amount of power. You could say that this burly man has Jiangnan City in his hands. N/O/vel/B//in.C//om. Why don't you sit? Scared I'll bite you. Huh? The burly man started laughing loudly. Luo Feng laughed and sat in front of him and said, Mr. Wang, what business do you have with me today? It's simple. The burly man smiled. I looked into your family situation. You came from a regular family, and your father works at a remodeling company while your mother works as a cashier in the supermarket. Your background isn't that good, and yet you've been able to get to where you are at a mere 18 years old, which is really rare. Luo Feng let out a complicated smile. Indeed, he has worked far too long for this day. I really appreciate you, and I think you have a bright future. I officially invite you, Luo Feng, to join my Thunder Dojo. The burly man looked at Luo Feng. I already signed a contract with the Dojo of Limits. Luo Feng smiled as he shook his head. The unconvinced burly man shook his head and said, "A contract? If it's a contract, you can just break it. It's just a fee you have to pay. According to the fighter rules, the payment won't exceed 100 million. I believe that you are worth far more than this price. Our Thunder Dojo will pay this price for you. Also, if you join, I'll arrange a special training contract for you in our main worldwide Thunder Dojo headquarters." The burly man laughed. Every year, no more than 10 fighters will receive this invitation. Each of them will be a one-of-a-kind genius. So far, we only sent out 3 invitations this year. One of them is a 20-year-old advanced fighter from the European Union. Another genius from South America is a spirit reader. And our third is from Jiang City of China, a 16-year-old intermediate fighter. You'll be the 4th. Luo Feng couldn't help but to be shocked. Each of the 3 were disgustingly strong. Clearly, the Wan Dong and Ma Xiao who were scouted weren't qualified enough for this invitation. But I am? Truthfully, with just Luo Feng's fitness level, he isn't qualified for such a contract. However, along with this, he also has his knowledge of the Ru Wei technique. This is enough for Luo Feng to receive the special training contract invitation. Since Luo Feng, who is only 18, has amazingly been able to learn the Ru Wei technique. As long as you join my Thunder Dojo, I'll give you this contract and send you to our worldwide headquarters for training. You might even have a chance to get personally tutored by the legendary Thunder Lord. The burly man smiled as he said, "Luo Feng, our Thunder Dojo wholeheartedly invites you to join us." The conditions set by Wang Heng have reached the limit, and he watched Luo Feng expectantly. "Sorry," Luo Feng slightly bowed. "I thank the Thunder Dojo for their offer, but I have already decided to join the Dojo of Limits. I haven't thought about transferring, so I am truly sorry." Wang Heng was startled. "Rejected? You don't want to take your time to think about this?" The burly man stared with his eyebrows raised. "No," Luo Feng stood up and bowed. "Mr. Wang, if there's nothing else, then I'll be on my way." Luo Feng knew that things would just get awkward if he stayed after rejecting the offer. Wang Heng stared at Luo Feng closely. This young man doesn't even falter in the face of temptation. Wang Heng couldn't help but to sigh. He waved his hand and laughed. "All right, I won't nag you anymore. If you ever change your mind, the gates to my Thunder Dojo will always be open for you." "Thank you, Mr. Wang." Luo Feng smiled as he left. Right when Luo Feng left, Wang Heng's face sank and he shouted, "Tell Wan Dong to come." "Yes, Chief." The people outside immediately went to notify Wan Dong. "I can't believe I just lost another genius to the Dojo of Limits." Wang Heng stroked his chin and his eyes squinted like a tiger's. "Ever since Phantom Warlord retired because of a major injury, our Jiangnan City's Thunder Dojo has always been at a disadvantage compared to the Dojo of Limits." Cheat. Wang Heng is also nervous. In the entire world, the Dojo of Limits and the Thunder Dojo are the 2 largest dojos. The creators of the dojos are the strongest and second strongest fighters. Naturally, the higher-ups of each would greet each other with smiling faces. But in truth, they were completely against each other. However, in Jiangnan City, the Dojo of Limits has stronger influence. "Chief." The cold teenager, Wan Dong, walked over. Even in Wan Dong's look, he was full of confidence. Since he got more kills than Luo Feng in this time's fighter combat exam, and he ranked number 1, his confidence has been growing. Wan Dong," Wang Heng let out a smile. "You are our Thunder Dojo's best new recruit. However, with your current power, you still cannot compare to Luo Feng." "Chief," Wan Dong was startled. "I can't compare to Luo Feng? Do you doubt my words?" Wang Heng raised his eyebrows. Wan Dong shook his head. He knew the chief instructor in front of him used to be an advanced warlord. At the same time, he has the various special rights granted to him by the title of Chief Instructor. His authority rivals a wargot's. How could this person spread lies? I'll tell you truthfully, your body fitness level isn't worse than his. However, in a real battle, even 3 of you cannot defeat one Luo Feng, Wang Heng said heavily. However, even though the current gap between you and him is large doesn't mean you'll always be weaker than him. What you need to do is seriously work hard and surpass him. I've met quite a few geniuses, but many geniuses fall. A fighter walks on the border of life and death. Your good talent only means that you improve faster. Now that you just became a fighter, your path just began. Don't loosen up no matter what. Luo Feng is only the first opponent you must surpass. In the future, you'll be surpassing many more opponents, Wang Heng encouraged. I hope one day I'll be able to witness the birth of a new war god. Wan Dong's blood boiled as he listened. Yes, Luo Feng is just the first opponent. He'll have to continuously surpass others until achieves the rank of war god. All right, go now. You've been slaughtering all night, so you should rest, Wang Heng smiled. Yes, Chief, Wan Dong left respectfully. Wang Heng shook his head and sipped some tea. Ever since carrying the burden of the position of Chief Instructor, he's been thinking of ways to help geniuses grow, or to pressure them, or attract them with scrolls and money to bring them to his dojo. The more fighters he raises, the more solid his position becomes. This Wan Dong might be able to give me a surprise in the future, laughed Wang Heng. However, I won't ask too much of him for now. It'll be great if he could just reach Luo Feng. Ruwei class at 18 years old and such a high body fitness level. What a great seed. Wang Heng shook his head and drank some tea as he tried not to think about it anymore. Yes, no matter what, Luo Feng and Wan Dong are just good seeds. In the northern military sector of Jiangnan City, Luo Feng and Yang Wu, who have already changed into casual clothes, were chatting as they walked. Crazy, there was something wrong with Wan Dong's look as he glanced at you just now. He even said he wanted to compete with you and see who can become a warlord first, Yang Wu said confusedly. Who knows what's going on? It seems like Wan Dong already sees me as an opponent. Luo Feng was also suspicious towards Wan Dong's words. What he didn't know was that after Wan Dong listened to Wang Heng's words, Wan Dong has already treated Luo Feng as his first opponent. I gotta tell my family that I passed the exam. Luo Feng smiled as he took out his cell phone. Brother Yang, you have to notify your family about the results too. NOVLB //JNN. Yep, Yang Wu laughed as he nodded. Luo Feng and Yang Wu both called their family's home phone. In one of Jiangnan City's 8 major cities, Yangzhou City's Mingyue sector. Honghua, your family's Luo Feng will surely be able to pass this time's fighter combat exam. Parents Luo Honghua and Gong Xianlan pushed their son Luo Hua's wheelchair and chatted with a balding old man. Is the fighter combat exam dangerous? Gong Xianlan couldn't help but to ask. My family's phone said there was no danger, but we checked online and we read that it actually was dangerous. Yes, it is a bit dangerous, the balding old man nodded. According to what my son said, in a typical fighter combat exam, there's usually a 3% to 5% death rate and around a 5% to 8% chance to become disabled. In other words, over 100 prospective fighters are trash. Luo Honghua and Gong Xianlan exchanged glances, both of them extremely anxious. Your family's phone is surely absolutely fine, so take it easy, laughed the balding old man. Yes, Luo Honghua and Gong Xianlan nodded. Although they did that on the outside, the husband and wife pair were still incredibly anxious inside. Luo Hua said nothing as he sat on his wheelchair, but his fists were tightly clenched. Suddenly, a cheerful ringtone started ringing, and Mother Gong Xianlan took her cell phone out of her pocket and let out a face of joy. As she looked at the cell phone, she said, "It's Feng's phone number." "Hurry up and answer it," said Luo Honghua. Luo Hua also stared at the phone, and even the balding old man smiled as he watched on the side. "Hello," Gong Xianlan answered. "Mom, I passed the fighter combat exam. I'll be able to return home tonight, so you better prepare good food." The sound carried from the cell phone, and everyone around heard it. Father Luo Honghua laughed, and Luo Hua finally relaxed his clenched fist and laughed along. Great, great. Mom will definitely prepare lots of good food. Gong Xianlan was extremely excited. August 2nd. Evening, Yangzhou City's Mingyue sector. Luo Feng is back. Congratulations. Congratulations, my ass. That fighter combat exam was easy as pie to Luo Feng. As Luo Feng walked, he smiled as he greeted several fighters. There are way fewer fighters than regular people in society. In this Mingyue sector, all the families here are fighters. Not only that, but all of them have joined the dojo of limits, so naturally their relationship would be good. Mom, Dad, Luo Feng saw his parents and the home's nanny all standing in front of the door to home. Let's eat. Let's eat. Luo Hongguo immediately started laughing. That night Luo Feng and his family had a great time, since starting from now, from the perspective of the law, Luo Feng is officially a fighter. Until after 11 p.m., inside Luo Feng's recording room on the second floor of his home. They said that after you become an official fighter, you can enter the dojo of Limit's internal fighter network. Luo Feng was a bit excited. Some special internal networks require a special identification to enter. Only the fighters of the dojo of Limits have the right to enter the internal fighter network, home of Limits. And as long as you're a fighter, you'll be able to log into the HR Alliance channel. Home of Limits, Luo Feng typed in the URL through his keyboard. After a moment, a large screen that was easily 200 inches appeared on one of the walls of the video recording room. The screen immediately displayed the website Home of Limits. Beep, Luo Feng finished validating his fingerprint. In the silent video room, Luo Feng sipped a bit of his fresh brewed tea. His gaze, however, was focused on the huge screen on the wall of the video recording room. 20 million Chinese dollars? The money that the dojo of Limits promised to me certainly did arrive. There were a row of buttons on the very top of the web page. One of them continuously flashed and read, "You have 2 new messages." Luo Feng's finger lightly tapped the wireless keyboard's touchscreen to open the messages. Hua! The first message opened, and a video message came out. "Hello, Mr. Luo Feng." A middle-aged man wearing a black suit appeared on the huge screen. He smiled as he said, "I am Chief Zhu, GE's assistant. I'm sure you have already seen the 20 million that Chief Zhugo promised you. To buy your blade, agility, and technique scrolls, you can purchase them through the internal network. As long as their price doesn't exceed 100 million, the internal network will transfer the payments to the dojo of Limits, so you won't have to pay. However, if the cost exceeds 100 million, then Mr. Luo Feng will have to pay the exceeding part. At the same time, I represent the chief to congratulate Mr. Luo Feng's success in the fighter combat exam." After that was said, the video came to an end. "The dojo of Limits is treating me quite well." Luo Feng opened the second message. This message also contained a video. "Hello, respected new fighter Luo Feng. I represent the dojo of Limits, and I welcome you to our large family." A kind-faced woman smiled as she said, "This is your first time entering the dojo of Limits' internal network home of Limits. Allow me to tell you how to use the various functions of the home of Limits. First, in the home of Limits, you can purchase various weapons, techniques, agility scrolls, and offensive scrolls like blade scrolls, spear scrolls, sword scrolls, etc. There are also heated weapons, transportation tools, protective gears, communication systems, special bombs, special medicines, genetic medicines. There are even some rare ingredients and treasures. As long as you have enough money, you can buy all of them. Once you pay, the good will arrive within 24 hours. Through the Limit Home, you can even ask for a warlord or even a war god fighter to tutor you one-on-one through the internet. Likewise, you have to be able to pay the money." The girl in the video smiled and said, "If you have enough contribution points, then all the goods described above will be half price." Luo Feng was shocked after hearing this. Half? So as long as he has enough contribution points, a good that's worth 100 million can be bought for 50 million? There sure are many places to use these contribution points. However, his contribution points still remain at 0 right now. There are many uses for contribution points. Not only can you buy goods with them, but once you reach a certain point, you can use them to call the special forces of the dojo of Limits. The girl in the video smiled and said, "Higher contribution points represents more power, benefits, and authority in my dojo of Limits. There are 2 main ways to earn contribution points. First, you can kill monsters and pick certain materials from their bodies, and sell these important materials to the Dojo of Limits. You can earn money and contribution points this way. Second, you can donate to the Dojo of Limits. The more you donate, the more contribution points you receive. The rate right now is 10,000 Chinese dollars for one contribution point. In the donation system, the minimum donation is 10 million Chinese dollars, and the maximum amount a fighter can donate is 100 billion. In other words, through the donation system, you can earn up to 10 million contribution points. After Luo Feng heard this, he took a deep breath. The fuck? There's a limit to donating? The maximum is 100 billion? They won't accept any more than that? 100 billion Chinese dollars. It seems like the richest man in China only has a little more than 100 billion. In the Forbes ranking for the wealthiest people on Earth, the richest man only has like 120 billion American dollars, which is equivalent to 420 billion Chinese dollars. Of course, Forbes ranks only the surface. Some huge families' entire savings exceed some of the richest people. However, that's an entire family's savings. Mr. Luo Feng, let me remind you that the best way to earn contribution points is by hunting monsters. Not only can you earn contribution points, but also earn money. The girl in the video smiled and said, even though you have a large principal, don't buy things immediately. You can enter the fighter's discussion database and carefully learn some of the basic knowledge a fighter needs. This will help you when you're picking a scroll or buying a weapon. Finally, I hope Mr. Luo Feng can get to the very top of the fighters in our huge family in the Dojo of Limits. After saying that, the girl in the video bowed and then the video ended. Luo Feng was speechless after listening. There is indeed a huge use for the internal network Home of Limits. The thing that attracts Luo Feng the most is that you could actually use money to get a warlord or even a war god level fighter to tutor you one-on-one through the internet. Even though he had 20 million Chinese dollars, Luo Feng wasn't in a rush to buy any of the weapons. He first tried to get used to the Home of Limits internal network. The Home of Limits website has many functions. There were a wide variety of different boards, receiving missions, posting missions, chatting, training, and donating. However, the two largest boards that attracted Luo Feng were the fighter discussions and internet market boards. In the internet market, there were all sorts of Dao-in technique scrolls, agility scrolls, blade scrolls, heated weapons, chilled weapons, genetic medicines, a Luo Wanxiang asterisk, etc. In a phrase, the internet market is a place to spend money. Note, I have no idea what this is. Either I missed it in a previous chapter, or the author will introduce the meaning of this in a future chapter. Fighter discussions. Luo Feng clicked into the board and saw a thread named Basic Fighter Knowledge Database. In this thread, there were no replies. It was just a huge amount of basic data. Spirit Reader, Spirit Reader. Luo Feng kept scrolling through the page as he tried to find some sort of introduction on Spirit Readers. Finally, HM? It's this. Luo Feng saw a section, a basic sketch on Spirit Readers. Fellow brothers, since it seems to me that people know very little about Spirit Readers, let me give a basic introduction. After Luo Feng read this first sentence, he laughed. It was clear that this so-called fighter database was just a bunch of posts from fighters put together. It wasn't formal at all. Spirit Readers could be called the most feared group in the circle of fighters, n/o/vel/b/c//c/om. First, you can't train to become a Spirit Reader. Every Spirit Reader is naturally gifted and awakened by themselves. The language used in the post was quite casual. Before they awaken, they might just be a regular fighter. However, once they awaken, then they'll be off the charts. Why are they off the charts? Well, first, there are two types of Spirit Readers. One type has the power of telekinesis. In other words, they can control a needle or a blade and use them to conduct long-ranged attacks. The objects controlled by their telekinesis is way more powerful than the bullets from a type heavy sniper rifle. The bullets from a sniper rifle are almost always straight. However, there are no rules to the objects that the Spirit Reader controls. Not only can they move freely, but their damage is also different. For example, there are limits to the damage that the bullets of a machine gun or a type heavy sniper rifle can do. A top-grade sniper rifle will have trouble killing a basic level commander. However, The power of a needle or blade that the spirit reader controls grows stronger with their spiritual force. There are many spirit readers that can kill horde leaders*. Note, in case you forgot, last mention in Vol 2ch10, but since I haven't been translating for a while, that was quite a long time ago. The monsters have 3 different ranks: soldiers, commanders, and horde leaders. Other than the type that uses telekinesis, the second type directly uses their spiritual force to attack. This type is more mysterious. They directly attack the monster's soul, and once they succeed, the monster will die without a single wound on their body. However, attacking a soul is pretty hard, so I heard that spirit readers that know of the spiritual attack technique are extremely rare. Other than the telekinesis and spiritual attack techniques, there are legendary spirit readers that know more techniques. It's just that I'm not too sure of those. Luo Feng read word by word, not even missing a single point. However, the thing I'm most jealous of is the rate of growth of the spirit readers. Spirit readers naturally have a powerful spiritual force. It's just that when they are young, their bodies can't handle all of that spiritual force, so it sleeps within their subconsciousness. When their body gets stronger and stronger, until it reaches a certain level, the spiritual force will show itself. The stronger the body, the more spiritual force it can withstand. The fighter levels of warrior, beginner, intermediate, advanced, warlord, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and war god, beginner, intermediate, advanced, 9 different levels in all. Body fitness level usually has a difference of 2 levels compared to spiritual force. For example, if someone's fitness level is at the level of a beginner warrior, then that spirit reader would usually be an advanced warrior. If their body was at the level of an intermediate warrior, then that spirit reader would be a beginner warlord. Spirit readers have extremely rapid growth periods. Since a spirit reader naturally has a very powerful spiritual force, it just sleeps in their subconsciousness. Whenever their body gets stronger, the sleeping spiritual force will show more of itself. The stronger the body, the stronger the spiritual force. Until one day, when all of the sleeping spiritual force has showed itself. After that happens, the growth rate of a spirit reader will start to slow down. When Luo Feng read this part, he couldn't help but to hesitate. So, when a spirit reader gets stronger, it actually just means that the sleeping spiritual force is showing itself. Only with a strong body can you withstand enough spiritual force. So a spirit reader's potential depends on how much spiritual force they have within them. Sometimes the sleeping spiritual force takes the shape of a liquid substance or a half-solid, half-liquid substance. Sometimes they're even completely solid. According to legend, if the spiritual force takes the shape of a solid, then the spiritual force is extremely great. They're the ones with the most potential out of all the spirit readers. As their body grows, the spiritual force in the solid will continuously release, which makes them even stronger, until one day, when the solid completely dissolves, will their rapid growth period end. Luo Feng suppressed his excitement and continued reading until he finished the entire thing. After that, Luo Feng continued to search the database and managed to find 2 more introductions on spirit readers. What they outlined were pretty much the same, so it looks like they're true. Luo Feng nodded. Then, the dark, golden ball in my consciousness should be a large amount of spiritual force in the form of a solid. I'm sure lucky to have survived my awakening. Luo Feng was amazed. According to what he read in the 3 post-introductions, when a spirit reader awakens, a huge amount of powerful spiritual force explodes in their subconsciousness. If their awakening fails, then they might become retarded, a vegetable human, or even die of blood loss. No wonder I had a slight headache almost every day of my childhood. I even had a few comas. Luo Feng realized. It looks like that was because my body was too weak and couldn't handle my powerful spiritual force, which caused the headaches. Now that my fitness level has rose, the headaches became less frequent. Now my headaches are completely non-existent. Ever since Luo Feng awakened, his headaches disappeared. I can't believe that dark golden ball was the form my spiritual force is taking. I wonder how much spiritual force is inside that, wondered Luo Feng. Luo Feng went through many posts in the fighter discussion board, such as 50 frequently asked questions on hunting monsters, basic wilderness survival knowledge, how to avoid angering horde leader-level monsters, 28 ways to escape. All sorts of posts. Reading these allowed Luo Feng to learn a lot, and also understand the hardships of a fighter. Fighters may have high positions in society, but they put their lives on the line for it. Yes, these posts sure have a point. Technique, attacks, and Dao-in techniques. These three major scrolls are the most important to fighters. The Dao-in techniques determine how much their strength rises, while techniques and attacks determine their combat strength. Luo Feng read the post and agreed. These three scrolls are indeed the most important to a fighter. If you have money, you should throw them at these three scrolls. No wonder the Dojo of Limits allowed me to have these three scrolls for free. Luo Feng knew that the Dojo of Limits obviously wanted their own fighters to become stronger. Let's go in the internet market and see what's there. Luo Feng tapped the touch screen of the wireless keyboard and entered the web page of the internet market board. Suddenly, all sorts of specific classifications for goods appeared on the large screen on the wall of the video room. Luo Feng picked scroll. After pressing attack type 3 times, the screen suddenly showed photos of the scrolls, their names, and their prices. Destroyer type, spear. Rating, legendary. Price, 100 billion Chinese dollars full price. 50 billion Chinese dollars, half price requirement. 4-star contribution rank. 9-stage Thunderblade type, blade. Rating, legendary. Price, 100 billion Chinese dollars full price. 50 billion Chinese dollars, half price requirement. 4-star contribution rank. Phantom Blade, Secrets type, blade. Rating, SS price. 10 billion Chinese dollars full price. 5 billion Chinese dollars, half price requirement. 3-star contribution rank. Mist Sword type, blade. Rating, S price. 3 billion Chinese dollars full price. 1.5 billion Chinese dollars, half price requirement. 3-star contribution rank. When Luo Feng saw the large list of scrolls, his eyes widened. Holy *T. They even sell the world's strongest fighters. Hong. Spear Technique Destroyer? And this 9-stage Thunderblade is the technique of the second strongest fighter, Thunderlord. Luo Feng was immediately attracted to the very top of the page, where the spear and blade techniques were rated legendary. However, the price of them left him wide-eyed. They all cost 100 billion, and a half price of 50 billion requires a contribution rank of 4 stars. A 4-star contribution rank. Doesn't that mean 10 million contribution points? Luo Feng was very clear on the different contribution ranks. 10,000 contribution points represents 1 star. 100,000 contribution points represents 2 stars. 1,000 contribution points represents 3 stars. 10,000 contribution points represents 4 stars. Once you reach 50,000 contribution points, you reach the legendary 5-star rank. To reach the 5-star rank is virtually impossible. The difficulty is way too high. *TL note. Yes, I know 1,000 is a million, but I thought it would be nice to easily see the increments of 10 like the original version. Destroy the name of the world's strongest attack technique, Luo Feng pressed Destroyer, and was curious about the overall introduction for the Destroyer since this is the world's strongest spear attack. Most of the fighters that see this scroll would want to see an overview. Luo Feng stared. There were even more prices inside the web page for the Destroyer scroll. Destroyer all 6 levels. Price, 100 billion Chinese dollars full price. 50 billion Chinese dollars, half price requirement. For star contribution rank. Destroyer first 5 levels. Price, 40 billion Chinese dollars full price. 20 billion Chinese dollars, half price requirement. For star contribution rank. Destroyer F first 4 levels. Price, 15 billion Chinese dollars full price. 7.5 billion Chinese dollars, half price requirement. 3-star contribution rank. Destroyer first level. Price, 200 million Chinese dollars, full price. 100 million Chinese dollars, half price requirement. 1-star contribution rank. What? You can even buy this scroll in parts? Luo Feng thought for a bit. Indeed, for an ultimate spear technique like the Destroyer, who could afford the entire thing? That price is practically sky high. And even if someone does buy it, they have to start from the first level. And how many fighters can actually train to the 6th level? Probably most fighters will be stuck on the first level for their entire lives. They'll never be able to start training on the 2nd level. This ultimate scroll. No wonder it's the strongest fighter's attack technique. Luo Feng stared at the introduction. I can't believe this spear technique is actually a package. If you buy this scroll, you basically buy both a technique scroll and an attack scroll. Luo Feng was envious. Sadly, he trains with a blade, and he couldn't afford a price like that in the first place. 9-stage Thunder Blade like the Destroyer is also an ultimate scroll. Luo Feng immediately opened the 9-stage Thunderblade's website. If we say Luo Feng looked at the Destroyer scroll for the sake of curiosity, then he'll be looking at the 9-stage Thunderblade with expectation and desire. 9-stage Thunderblade. This is the scroll that a blade-wielding fighter would want the most. Luo Feng looked at the description. The description says that the 9-stage Thunderblade is the hardest blade technique to learn on Earth, even though it's called a blade technique. It also incorporates agility and a unique Dao-in technique. So the reason why the 9-stage Thunderblade is hard to learn is because it requires too much strength, reflex, etc. from your body. A blade technique also has agility and a Dao-in technique. Luo Feng was overjoyed. If the price isn't absurd, then he can buy it. Luo Feng looked closely at the price. 9-stage Thunder Blade, all 9 stages. Price: 100 billion Chinese dollars full price. 50 billion Chinese dollars, half price requirement. 4-star contribution rank. 9-stage Thunder Blade first 8 stages. Price: 50 billion Chinese dollars, full price. 25 billion Chinese dollars, half price requirement. 4-star contribution rank. 9-stage Thunder Blade first 5 stages. Price: 2 billion Chinese dollars, full price. 1 billion Chinese dollars, half price requirement. 3-star contribution rank. 9-stage Thunder Blade first 4 stages. Price: 500 million Chinese dollars, full price. 250 million Chinese dollars, half price requirement. 2-star contribution rank. 9-stage Thunder Blade first 3 stages. Price: 200 million Chinese dollars, full price. 100 million Chinese dollars, half price requirement. 2-star contribution rank. 9-stage Thunder Blade first 2 stages. Price: 100 million Chinese dollars, full price. 50 million Chinese dollars, half price requirement. 2-star contribution rank. 9-stage Thunder Blade first stage. Price: 50 million Chinese dollars, full price. 25 million Chinese dollars, half price requirement. 2-star contribution rank. When Luo Feng saw these prices, it was clear that the 9-stage Thunderblade had a full 9 stages, and its price was a bit cheaper than the Destroyer-S. Luo Feng raised his eyebrow. At the bottom of the website, there was an alert written in red letters. 9-stage Thunderblade is an ultimate blade technique and is extremely hard to learn and begin. There are tons of fighters all over the planet who have tried to learn this technique, but couldn't even get into the first stage. When picking this technique, please be careful. When Luo Feng saw this alert, he hesitated. Apparently, this technique is very hard to learn. However, if you manage to successfully learn it, then its power is immensely high. Buy it or not, since this is not a small number at all. In the dim video room, the large screen was displaying the introduction of the 9-stage Thunder Blade while Luo Feng silently sat on the couch as he contemplated. If he really was going to buy the 9-stage Thunder Blade, then it wouldn't be a small number at all. The amount of money he would spend would be sky high for even a fighter. If I'm going to train, then I'm going to train in the best one. Luo Feng clenched his teeth and his eyes flashed. I don't believe that I won't be able to learn this. Ever since he was little, Luo Feng has always been seriously training bitterly. I'm a spirit reader, and my hidden spiritual force in my subconsciousness has taken the form of a dark, golden ball. My strength will surely have a period of rapid growth. I just don't believe that I won't be able to successfully learn the 9-stage Thunderblade. Luo Feng has always had a belief, which is the belief that the dojo of limits instructors teach their students. Pursue your limits, surpass your limits. There was also another saying, a fighter that doesn't want to become the world's strongest fighter isn't a qualified fighter. N/O/vel/B//and.C//om. 9-stage Thunderblade. I know I can successfully learn it. Luo Feng took a deep breath and lightly tapped the display. Please confirm whether or not you want to purchase the first 3 stages of the 9-stage Thunderblade. You need to pay 100 million Chinese dollars. An alert appeared on the large screen. Since it's Luo Feng's first purchase, according to his contract with the Dojo of Limits, he can ignore the contribution rank requirement for the half-price deal. Confirmed. Luo Feng tapped it. Please confirm your identity via fingerprint. To confirm again, a reminder appeared on the screen. Luo Feng put his finger on the wireless keyboard's fingerprint scanner. Beep. Identity confirmed. Purchase successful. Discount successful. The first 3 stages of the 9-stage Thunderblade will arrive at Mr. Luo Feng's home within 24 hours. Consecutive notices appeared on the screen. Luckily, my contract allows my first purchase to ignore the contribution rank restriction. Luo Feng felt his heart pounding rapidly. It couldn't be helped. This was 100 million Chinese dollars. Buying Jiang Haobai's line of villas would be easy. Furthermore, Luo Feng's family was always poor. One could imagine how he felt to use 100 million all up at once. Thankfully, this isn't my money. Luo Feng grinned. The scroll purchasing was a success. Next, buying weapons, battle uniform, etc. I have a principal of 20 million. I'll try to save where I can. Luo Feng opened the list of weapons and quickly found the second series, Ghost Blade. Ghost Blade second series, model A1, price 100,000 Chinese dollars, full price 50,000 Chinese dollars, half price requirement, 1-star contribution rank. Ghost Blade second series, model A2, price 500,000 Chinese dollars, full price 250,000 Chinese dollars, half price requirement, 1-star contribution rank. 2ND series, model A5, price 6 million Chinese dollars, full price 3 million Chinese dollars, half price requirement, 1-star contribution rank. Luo Feng looked carefully at the model's descriptions and couldn't help but to frown. My strength rises at a rapid rate now. I'm sure that my body fitness level will rise to the border of an advanced level warrior soon. Since I'm buying a weapon, I should try to buy a good 1-inch. If it was a regular intermediate level warrior, he can just purchase either the A2 or A3 model. You only have to donate $10,000 to get 1 contribution point. The so-called 1 contribution point is to differentiate between the fighters from your own dojo and those from outside. The Dojo of Limits owns an internal network home of Limits internet market, but they also have an actual fighter market. Fighters outside of the dojo can buy their goods too, but they must pay the full price. With my rate of growth, I'll have to buy at least an A5 or A6 model Ghost Blade, nodded Luo Feng. But these models require a 1-star contribution rank. A 1-star rank is 10,000 contribution points. His first purchase ignored the contribution rank restriction, and he managed to buy the scroll with the best price. However, this kind of offer only lasted for his first scroll purchase. His weapons, battle uniform, etc. won't have these kinds of deals at all. Ghost Blade Model A6 full price is 20 million. Model A5's full price is 6 million. Luo Feng shook his head. The A5 model can fight most of the medium-level commander monsters without worrying about the weapon breaking. The A6 model weapon can fight most of the high-level commander monsters without worrying about the weapon breaking. With his current rate of growth, an earlier model weapon is clearly not suitable. Buy them at full price? Too expensive. Luo Feng shook his head. Let's check the shields. NOVL B/JNN. Luo Feng opened up the web page for the shields, and as he looked closely, he noticed that the price of the shields were way lower than the blades. A B5 model that can block a medium-level commander costs 3 million Chinese dollars at full price and 1.5 million Chinese dollars at half price. However, the contribution rank requirement is also 1-star. Bag. When living in the wilderness and fighting with monsters, the type of bag you carry with you is also special. First, the bag itself needs to be high quality, and it shouldn't hinder the fighter's movements when he fights with monsters. The cheapest bag requires only 1 contribution point. A better one is only $10,000. Luo Feng let out a smile. A tactical communications watch has time, GPS, a phone, and many more functions. The price is not bad too, only $10,000 in reality. Those functions aren't worth that much money. In the market nowadays, the phones that cost a few $100s can also make calls, show time, and have a GPS system built into them. The only reason it costs $10,000 is because the material it's made out of is expensive. When fighting with a monster, their claws might touch the watch. The watch has to be sturdy enough to withstand a monster's attack. So how could it be cheap? I already checked out the blade, shield, watch, and bag. Now there's only one thing left. The battle uniform, including the boots. Luo Feng already heard that the battle uniform is the most expensive gear on the fighter. Because not only does the defense have to be good, but it also has to be comfortable and not get in the way of the fighter's dodging. Luo Feng opened it to see. Holy, so expensive. Luo Feng was dumbfounded. Even though it's a D5 edition battle uniform that includes bracers and boots as a set and can deflect a medium-level commander, the full price is 18 million Chinese dollars, and the half price is 9 million. The D6 requires 80 million Chinese dollars for the full price. I knew that the battle uniforms were expensive, but I didn't know that the 5th series battle uniform is 3 times more expensive than the blade of the same series. Now, for the calculations. If we use the 5th series for all of them, the entire battle uniform set is 18 million. The ghost blade is 6 million. The shield is 3 million. So 27 million total. If he had a 1-star contribution rank, then he would only need 13.5 million. The prices tactical communications watch and the bag are nothing compared to the battle uniforms. I still want to buy some throwing knives that I could control with my spiritual force. I should buy at least 6 or 10 of them. Luo Feng opened the throwing knives page. Throwing knives are just some small items. They are small in size and low in weight, so naturally they should be way cheaper than the ghost blade. A 5th series throwing knife is only 50,000 Chinese dollars for the full price. 6th series, 300,000 Chinese dollars for the full price. 7th series, the full price is an astounding 3 million Chinese dollars, and half price is 1.5 million. Requirement: 2-star contribution rank, a full 10x increase. If you put enough strength behind it, a 7th series throwing knife can easily harm a low-level horde leader monster. The difference between a commander and a horde leader is huge, but who knew that the weapons prices will have such a huge difference too? My spiritual force is powerful, and it'll continue to grow rapidly. I was planning on buying a 7th series throwing knife, but one knife is 3 million, and the half price requirement is a 2-star contribution rank. If I buy 5 or 6, that's already more than 10 million. How can I afford this? This money isn't even enough at all. Luo Feng thought that a principal of $20 million was plenty, but he realized that a fighter's equipment is absurdly expensive. What Luo Feng didn't know was that the prices weren't absurd at all. A horde leader level monster can't even be killed by a guided missile. For a throwing knife to be able to pierce them, one could guess how high the quality of the knife must be. One knife for 3 million is reasonable. When fighters spend money to buy their equipment, they have to spend a lot. However, they also earn a ton of money when hunting monsters. Sadly, Luo Feng hasn't started making money yet. At around 10 a.m. on the second day, Mingyue Sector, a stranger came to Luo Feng's villa's garden. Mr. Luo Feng, here is the scroll you purchased. Your fingerprint will be able to open it. Luo Feng accepted the scent-sealed alloyed box and slid his finger across the top of the alloyed box. Beep! Fingerprint test passed, a metallic sound arose, and the alloyed box opened up. A book that was around 1 cm thick was inside. There were also 2 discs on the book. 9-stage Thunderblade. Luo Feng saw the 4 words on the book. Mr. Luo Feng, try opening it. After confirming, "Please sign," said the delivery boy as he smiled, but there was a bit of admiration in his eye as he looked towards Luo Feng. 9-stage Thunderblade. The average fighter couldn't afford this. Mr. Luo Feng, I'm sure you're aware of the taboos that come with your purchase. The delivery boy smiled. According to the rules, I'll say them. The ownership of the scroll goes to the creator of the scroll. 9-stage Thunderblade is copyrighted by Thunder God. People who have purchased it only have the right to learn it, but not the right to teach it. You are not allowed to copy it and sell it or teach it privately. If someone breaks the rule, the Dojo of Limits, the Thunder Dojo, the Underground Alliance, and the government will work together to hunt them down. Luo Feng nodded. Of course he knew this rule. After confirming, the delivery boy left. Just this one scroll and 2 discs is worth 100 million Chinese dollars. Luo Feng stood in his garden and was amazed. Seems like making a scroll makes the most money. For example, if more people buy Thunder God's 9-stage Thunderblade, then he earns more money. After calculating for a bit, it's not hard to find out how much money Thunder God makes. However, for Thunder God, the creator of the Thunder Dojo, money probably doesn't mean much to him. Right when Luo Feng was about to enter his home with his scroll, Luo Feng, a voice arose. Luo Feng turned his head, and the person who came to visit was the Dojo of Limits Chief Instructor Wu Tong. Uncle Wu, Luo Feng laughed. I just saw the delivery guy at headquarters. You buy something? Wu Tong laughed. Yes, Luo Feng nodded. 9-stage Thunderblade? Wu Tong looked at the 4 words on the scroll in Luo Feng's hands and was shocked. You actually could afford this? Scrolls were strictly controlled by all the large powers on Earth. The money I spent wasn't my money anyway, Luo Feng laughed and randomly said. However, I found out that I really don't have enough money to spend. Blades, battle uniforms, etc. requires so much money. Oh yeah, Luo Feng. I came here to tell you something, Chief Instructor Wu Tong laughed as he said. Not too long ago, wasn't there a young man named Jiang Haobai who offended you? Luo Feng was startled. Jiang Haobai? Luo Feng didn't even have a chance to get back at him yet. Yeah, he got someone to try and break my arms and legs in the past, nodded Luo Feng. Well, it's like this. Jiang Haobai's uncle, Zhang Zhe, who is a fighter from the Thunder Dojo. He asked the chief instructor of the Thunder Dojo here in Yangzhou City to help resolve this. He wants to resolve this matter privately with you. Chief Instructor Wu Tong laughed. Luo Feng, aren't you low in money? This is a big chance to earn money. You could take advantage of this opportunity to earn a ton. Luo Feng's heart skipped a beat. In the fighter discussion board in the Home of Limits, there were many posts about grudges between fighters. For example, in China, fighters in the 6 major headquarters are under the government's control and are subject to law. However, once they leave the city and enter the monsters area, there was no law to resolve anything. That was a place where fighters and monsters fight. A place with no laws. The fighters all walked on the border between life and death. So cases where fighters kill each other over their conflicts are common. All the large dojos, the government, etc. don't want to see this kind of thing happen. Fighters are the wealth of humans. They're the only thing they have that can fight against monsters. They don't want the fighters to have any internal feuds. So from this came the internal negotiations which settled the arguments. People have grudges, okay. Let's settle them at the table to end them. It's another saying if there is absolutely no way to resolve them. Luo Feng, you're still a rookie that just entered the circle of fighters. It's best to not make any enemies, smiled Chief Instructor Wu Tong as he said. You also need money right when you start. Okay. Luo Feng nodded. If they can resolve it, then so be it. Uncle Wu, I can't let Zhang Haobai off easily. If I was weak, then my legs and arms would have been broken. But of course, nodded Wu Tong as he said, if we don't let them bleed, they might think my dojo of limits is afraid of them. Uncle Wu, what price do you think I should offer? Asked Luo Feng. He didn't know the rules, so he thought it would be better to get some advice. After pondering, Wu Tong said, if it was just a regular person who messed with you, then you shouldn't go past 50 million Chinese dollars. And Luo Feng, you are an elite of our dojo of limits, so you shouldn't go too low either. No lower than 10 million Chinese dollars. Between 10 to 50 million. You can just randomly pick a number. Okay, Luo Feng nodded his head as he considered his choices. If you agree, then I'll tell them to come over tonight to meet us, laughed Wu Tong. Okay. Thanks, Uncle Wu, laughed Luo Feng as he nodded. Luo Feng first returned home to put his 9-stage Thunder Blade scroll away, and then entered the internal network, Home of Limits, to try and find some information on private negotiations between fighters. Oh, so it's like this. Reputation also ties in with this payment money. Luo Feng consecutively read many posts and finally felt that he had an idea about what tonight's negotiations would be like. Fong, it's time to eat. Mother Gong Xian Lan's voice came from downstairs. Come on, Mom. Luo Fong turned off the power and then headed downstairs. In the living room downstairs, his father and mother were carrying the plates and bowls around while the maid cooked. Where's Luo Hua? Asked Luo Fong doubtfully. He still hasn't returned. Right now, there are 2 hired maids, both around 40 years old. One of them was hired just to take care of Luo Hua, since it would be more convenient for Luo Fong. With someone looking over his brother, he can go outside more. Your brother is at the Lotus Flower Lake Park. He just called to tell us he'll be here soon, said Father Luo Honggua as he smiled. How come brother has been going to that park all the time these days? Asked Luo Fong. Mother Gong Xian Lan laughed softly on the side. Fong, your brother has a girlfriend. Girlfriend? Luo Fong was surprised. Even though there were many handicapped people in society these days, for example the soldiers who fought in the army and came back crippled from fighting monsters. Although handicapped people can also get into relationships, marry, and have children, but Luo Hua hasn't even been here for over a month yet. In such a short time, in a relationship? Fong, don't listen to your mother. Your brother is spending time with a girl, but they aren't at that point yet, laughed Luo Honggua. Who cares? It's good if he can get into a relationship. Luo Fong was happy inside. No matter what the result of this relationship is, it's an experience of life. This experience is good for him. Yangzhou City's Ian * region, Sky Garden sector. Uncle Zhang Haobai looked at his uncle Zhang Zhe, who. Zhang Haobai went through these recent days in a state of fear and nervousness. He was even afraid that someone from the security agency will come and snatch him away. Who? As long as we can keep Haobai, it's okay if we go through some pain, Zhang Zhe Long couldn't help but to say. Bro, rest assured. Zhang Zhe, who was very large and muscular, and he gave off a feeling of an unrivaled, ferocious beast. Zhang Zhe, who grinned and showed his snow-white teeth. That little rabbit Luo Fong, just a rookie fighter. All he did was fight the weakest monsters raised by the military to become a fighter. He should know the rules. Those who shouldn't have caused trouble, actually caused trouble. Messing with the mountain tiger * is asking for death. Seeing how his uncle was so confident, Zhang Zhe Long and Zhang Haobai let out a sigh of relief. All right, leave it to me, I'll be going. After waving, Zhang Zhe, who headed out. Outside was a heavy, 6-wheeled, remodeled Hummer. There was even someone inside waving out and smiling as he shouted, Brother who? Ready? Yup, go and pick up old Lee, and then we'll head to the dojo of limits. Zhang Zhe, who got on the car and waved as he said, All right. The Hummer let out a low, powerful noise and swiftly left the Sky Garden sector. Around evening, in Yangzhou City's Mingyue sector's Limit Hall's second floor's lobby, Luo Fong and his group were there. Fong, what a coincidence. Your Uncle Kong and Big Brother Chun are here, laughed Wu Tong loudly. Luo Fong also greeted the 2 people beside Wu Tong. One of them seemed extremely skinny and had a scar on his face that looked like it cut his face in half. Just looking at him strikes fear in you. The other man was a burly man who you could tell was enthusiastic just by looking at him. Brother Chun, Uncle Kong, yelled Luo Fong. These 2 people weren't ordinary people. In the Limit Hall here in Yangzhou City, there were 3 warlord-level fighters. Chief Instructor Wu Tong, Fire Cannon Chingu, and Hawkblade Kong Quan. Wu Tong already retired from monster hunting, while Fire Cannon Chingu and Hawkblade Kong Quan frequently leave the city to hunt monsters. These 2 people were the leading figures in the circle of fighters in the Mingyue sector. Fong, we already know about the situation. Rest assured we'll stick out for you in this case. Laugh Fire Cannon Chingu. Damn, no matter how cocky these Thunder Dojo people get, they won't mess with us. Yes, Hawkblade Kong Quan slightly nodded. After a moment, the people from the Dojo of Limits and the Thunder Dojo sat on their respective sides in the lobby. There were at least 20 people on the Dojo of Limits side, while there were just 8 people on the Thunder Dojos. Wu Tong, in this case, it is indeed whose nephew's fault, a large brute laughed loudly as he said. But that nephew is just a small child? What does he understand? And he's just an ordinary person, not even a fighter, so no need to argue over such trivial things. Old Lee, don't bring in those pointless things, laughed Wu Tong as he shook his head. No matter how uncertain we are about this case, You guys came here to negotiate, right? Mountain Tiger, say something? Zhang Zhe, who is called Mountain Tiger in the circle of fighters, uses a gigantic two-handed machete star. Chief Instructor Wu smiled. Zhang Zhe, who as his gaze landed upon Luo Feng. For this case, we should let little Luo explain it himself. Little Luo, how should we go about solving this case in a way that satisfies you? Shut up. Hawkblade, Kong Quan snapped. Luo Feng is a good brother in our dojo of limits. Little Luo? He is qualified for you to call him by his name too. Zhang Zhe, who panicked. Hawkblade Kong Quan was a ruthless man in the circle of fighters, so even Zhang Zhe, who doesn't want to anger him. Mr. Zhang Zhe, who Luo Feng stood up and smiled. This case made many of my brothers stand up for me, so I'm a bit embarrassed. But for my own thoughts, that Jiang Hao by trying to break my arms and legs is a small matter. But he actually attacked my dad, and that is asking death. Luo Feng shouted as he glared. Zhang Zhe, who was shocked, and the fighters on the side of the dojo of limits laughed. This Mountain Tiger Zhang Zhe, who was a senior fighter and is an advanced warrior, just one step away from the warlord level. Luo Feng actually dared to glare at him with such an attitude, which let the fighters on the side of the dojo of limits understand his courage. Luo Feng, so what do you want to do? Speak. Zhang Zhe, who wasn't amused and had a bad face on. Zhang Zhe, whose anger? He really didn't care about it. Just speaking about the present, Luo Feng's body fitness level is already high for an intermediate warrior, so he's nearing the advanced warrior level. And with his spiritual force added in there, he's already at least a beginner warlord level. One phrase, 50 million Chinese dollars. Luo Feng, will give you some face, and we can call this case off, smiled Luo Feng. You sure have a huge mouth, 50 million, glared Zhang Zhe. This price is high, frowned the Thunder Dojo's chief instructor Li. Luo Feng just smiled and said nothing. The price isn't high, smiled the dojo of Limit's chief instructor Wu Tong. Luo Feng, I'll give you a price, 5 million. I'll give you 5 million and we'll call off this case, and it'll still leave me some face. Or else you aren't giving me, Zhang Zhe, who any face. Zhang Zhe, who stared at Luo Feng. 5 million? The people on the side of the dojo of limits frowned. Even if you were trying to give some face to Fire Cannon, Chingu, and Hawkblade, Kong Quan, you shouldn't offer such a low price. If the price is too low, you aren't giving any face. Or else I'm not giving you any face? Luo Feng glared. Zhang Zhe, who let me say something also. 50 million, no less. If you're even $1 off, then prepare to meet your nephew in the security agency. Zhang Zhe, who was enraged, he didn't think that this rookie Luo Feng wouldn't leave him any face at all. 50 million, no less? Zhang Zhe, who glared like he was about to eat someone. N/O/vel/b//and.c//om. But Luo Feng didn't care. He read many posts on the Limit Home about this and knew that whoever lowers their head first is admitting defeat. And in this kind of situation, technically, if two people are of equal position, the side that made the mistake should apologize. And yet Zhang Zhe, who was assertive, clearly taking advantage of Luo Feng's status of a rookie. However, Luo Feng wasn't affected. Okay, listen to me, the dojo of Limit's chief instructor Wu Tong spoke. Luo Feng and Mountain Tiger, both of you back off. 30 million Chinese dollars. Zhang Zhe, who 30 million isn't that much to you. Bring out that amount, and we'll call it off. Luo Feng, you don't have any objections, right? Luo Feng nodded. We'll do as Uncle Wu says. Mountain Tiger, you? Wu Tong looked toward Zhang Zhe. Everyone's gazes landed upon Zhang Zhe, and he angrily stood up and laughed as he said, making me lower my head to a tiny rabbit? In your dreams. Laoli brothers, let's go. If you don't want to resolve this, then you'll have to pay 100 million to protect your nephew, Wu Tong laughed softly. I'd rather give the country 100 million than to give 30 million to resolve this. Zhang Zhe, who looked coldly towards Luo Feng and mocked. Kiddo, being a fighter isn't that easy. After you leave the city, you'll see how scary monsters are. All of the scariest situations come without warning. And the monsters in the military camp don't even come close at all. Those monsters are raised by the military and are the weakest type. I hope you don't die too quickly, or else how would you come back to play with me, right? Let me remind you, I'm not too far off from the warlord level. How long will it take for you to reach the warlord level? And can you even survive for that long? Luo Feng laughed. Thank you, Mr. Zhang Zhe, for your care. However, you should think about how you're going to prepare 100 million to give to the country to protect your nephew. Zhang Zhe, whose face sank. Let's go. 100 million, man, 100 million. Fire Cannon Chenggu purposefully shouted twice in a weird voice. Zhang Zhe, whose group spoke no further and left. Seeing how that group left, the people from the dojo of limits started getting rowdy. This Zhang Zhe, whose temper is just as the rumors said. So bad it's indescribable. It's clearly his nephew's fault, and he still refused to lower his head. Wu Tong laughed as he shook his head. He would rather donate 100 million than pay 30 million to resolve it. The dojo has contribution points, and the country has contribution points too. Those who have contributed to the country receive contribution points, depending on what they have done. 10,000 points is the 1-star rank. 100,000 points is the 2-star rank, which is the same as the dojo of limit system. The year where one man, Dong Nanbao, saved thousands of civilians by slaying the tiger head dragon was given a 4-star hero medal. Just like how you can donate to the dojo to earn contribution points, you can also donate to the country to earn contribution points. 10,000 Chinese dollars is 1 contribution point. 100 million Chinese dollars is 10,000 contribution points, which is the 1-star rank. If Zhang Zhe, who doesn't want to negotiate with Luo Feng, then the only solution left is to donate 100 million to the country for his nephew and let his nephew get the 1-star rank. As a 1-star rank civilian, Zhang Haobai is granted special rights. He can't go to jail for too long just because of the conflict between him and Luo Feng. Even if he gives the country 100 million to make his nephew a 1-star civilian, a 1-star civilian will still have to go to jail for 3 to 5 months for going against a fighter and suffer a bit, said Fire Cannon Chenggu as he shook his head. If he doesn't want to lower his head, then who can we blame? Guess he doesn't care because he has money. The fighters of the dojo of limits laughed loudly. Luo Feng, Chief Instructor Wu Tong laughed. According to Chief Zhu Ji's commands, we'll have to make arrangements for you to enter a warlord-level fighter squad. This way you can train yourself more easily outside the city. It's also safer this way. I talked for you and made the preparations for you to enter the Firehammer Squad. Firehammer Squad? Luo Feng nodded. That Chief Zhu Gutong really values him. From the start, he let him join a warlord-level fighter squad. The squads that leave the cities and enter the wilderness to hunt monsters don't have an even skill level. Usually if a team consists of just one warlord-level fighter, then that squad counts as a warlord-level squad. Luo Feng, Fire Cannon, Chenggu patted Luo Feng's shoulder and laughed loudly. I'm the vice captain of the Firehammer Squad. I'll protect you when you're with me, but Luo Feng, I have to put out the ugly words first. Us members of the Firehammer Squad will definitely give you chances to train, so you can get used to hunting monsters, but you have to work hard too, and can't just keep hoping for help from the other members. If you can't adapt after the first mission, then we can only kick you out the squad. Brother Chen, I understand. Luo Feng laughed and nodded. A fighter squad lives on the border of life and death. If the squad has a burden, then the effect will be huge. If you understand, then I can relax. Also, Fire Cannon Chenggu laughed as he said, have you bought all of your weapons and equipment? Not yet. I'm preparing to buy some of the higher quality weapons and equipment. But for those, I need a 1-star contribution rank to buy them for half price. Luo Feng shook his head hopelessly. Fire Cannon Chenggu suddenly started laughing. This is simple. Tell me what you want to buy, and I'll buy them for you. You don't have enough contribution points, but I do. I'm not far from the 2-star contribution rank right now. I can buy them all for half price, and you can transfer the money to my account later, right? Yes, Chief Instructor Wu Tong nodded on the side. Equipment like cold or heated weapons can be bought by others without a problem. Of course, things like scrolls can't be bought by others for you. Luo Feng nodded. This he knew. For example, the 9-stage Thunderblade that he bought will appear in the databases of the Dojo of Limits, Underground Alliance, the Thunder Dojo, etc. as Luo Feng, has purchased the first 3 stages of the 9-stage Thunderblade. That way, Luo Feng can use the 9-stage Thunderblade without a problem. However, if Yang Wu could use the 9-stage Thunderblade, then once he gets caught, he'll be arrested, since that counts as copying and spreading the 9-stage Thunderblade scroll, which violates the rights Thunder God has for this scroll. If you don't buy it, you don't have the right to practice it. If you let someone else buy something for you, the database will display that. Since there isn't any information on you buying the scroll, you can't practice it even if you get it. However, weapons and equipment don't have this kind of copyright restriction. Luo Feng, write down all the weapons and equipment you need, and I'll buy them for you when I get back, said Chingu. Okay. Luo Feng nodded and immediately went to write it down on a piece of paper. All Class 5 equipment. The battle uniform set's half price was 9 million. The 2nd series Ghost Blade's half price was 3 million. The 5th series shield was 1.5 million, and the 10-6 series throwing knives cost 1.5 million. For a grand total of 150 million. With his bag and tactical communications watch, Luo Feng was set. Luo Feng's home's 2nd floor in the training area. Dawn's light shone through the window, which made the entire training area bright. Luo Feng was wearing a loose dojo uniform and kneeled on the floor. The training area was over 100 ping in size and was completely empty. It was just Luo Feng sitting in the middle, and in front of him was a scroll. 9-stage Thunderblade. Seems like the 9-stage Thunderblade is very difficult to learn. I wonder why. Luo Feng opened the scroll and then looked at it. After turning to the first page of the 9-stage Thunderblade instruction manual, speed was the largest and most prominent word on the page. As if facing an approaching blade, Luo Feng's heart skipped a beat. This instruction manual is just a copy of the 9-stage Thunderblade, but the copied handwriting was enough to freeze Luo Feng. One can imagine how horrifying the instruction manual's creator, Thunderlord, is. Luo Feng continued reading. In all of martial arts, the only indestructible thing is speed. As your blade gets faster and approaches the limit, you'll be invincible. Luo Feng flipped to the title page and saw flamboyant handwriting. It's the same with Hong's Destroyer. His most powerful move also approaches the limits of speed. In just one move, the sky shakes and the earth shatters, leaving nothing behind. There is only one secret behind the 9-stage Thunderblade I have created. Speed. Luo Feng flipped to the 2nd page. How can speed have so much destructive force? First, if your blade can move faster than your opponent can react, you can slit their throat before they even raise their blade. Even if your strength is only a tenth of your opponent's, their throat cannot defend against your sharp blade. So speed allows you to attack your opponent's weak points. Next, speed can increase the power of your blade. Using the energy calculation formulas, a blade's attack power is equal to 0.5 mv/2. In other words, in stable conditions, the faster the blade moves, the more energy it'll contain. Even a water column can pierce steel if fast enough. A piece of paper can cut steel. Speed can let you slip through your opponent's defense. Speed can make your blade indestructible. Whether you look at it from the angle of striking weak points or the angle of increasing destructive power, the best way is to increase your blade's speed. Luo Feng nodded as he read. Most of the fighters in today's society will understand this point. Only by increasing your speed to the extreme can you become the strongest. Many fighters understand this point, but those who are able to put this to practice are few within few. The words Thunderlord wrote in the instruction manual were full of confidence. The 9-stage Thunderblade I have created gives me the fastest blade on Earth. It also gives me the highest speed and the strongest body. Luo Feng's eyes flashed as he read. The 9-stage Thunderblade incorporates the agility technique Lu Guang, the entire Dao Yin technique set 9-stage Hun Yuan, and the entire blade technique set Thunderblade. Out of these 3, the Dao Yin technique is essential. Note, Lu Guang literally means flowing light. Only with the Dao Yin technique can you achieve a more powerful body. Body fitness is the core. Blade technique and agility need continuous practice and understanding. Luo Feng kept flipping through. There were 3 volumes on the Dao Yin technique in this instruction manual. According to the instruction manual's description, there were 9 volumes of the 9-stage Han Yuan Dao Yin technique. This instruction manual also only had the first 3 volumes of the blade technique and the agility technique. Luo Feng read the entire thing word for word. After raising his head, the sunlight was sinister and the August sun shone through the windows, causing the entire training hall to dazzle even more. Amazing, just amazing. Luo Feng was completely sucked into the 9-stage Thunderblade that Thunder Lord had created. Even though he only has the first 3 stages, they were enough to make Luo Feng's jaw drop. Comparing the tips on the internet with this instruction manual was like comparing a firefly to the sun. I'll test this technique. Luo Feng solemnly put the instruction manual in the corner of the training hall and took out his ghost blade. The ghost blade made a chi sound as it was unsheathed. The entire ghost blade was 101 centimeters long. The blade itself was 78 centimeters long, and the blade's width was 5.2 centimeters. This blade was sharpened a while ago, and its main material was second-grade Koluo alloy. Even at half price, this blade cost $3 million and weighed 112 kilograms. Start! Oh. Luo Feng seemed to just stand still in the middle of the training hall, but the ghost blade in his hand continuously waved around. The 9-stage Thunderblade technique relies on a special way to exert force. When a regular person swings their blade, you could say they use 100% of their strength. But in the 9-stage Thunderblade training, only 70% of their strength is used in a swing. After unleashing the first stage of their attack, they'll force themselves to unleash another stage, also at 70% of their strength. 2 of these stages added together equals 140% strength. The 9-stage Thunderblade has 9 stages. In the first stage, you can unleash another stage, which is 140% of the power. In the second stage, you can unleash 2 more stages, which is 210% of the power. In the third stage, you can unleash 3 more stages, which is 280% of the power. In the 9th stage, you can unleash 9 more stages, which is 720% of the power, which is 7 times your regular strength. What does this represent? It means that if a beginner warrior is able to learn up to the 9th stage of the 9-stage Thunderblade, then he can basically rival a beginner warlord. So difficult, just like the rumors said. This 9-stage Thunderblade training is extremely difficult. Even the introductory part is so hard Luo Feng continued to swing his blade hundreds of times. With each swing, he tries to build upon the basics of swinging and unleash the second stage of his swing. However, he's unable to do it. Too difficult. A swing of a blade ends in just a moment. In this moment, after the first time you use your strength to swing, you have to exert your force again, which is practically impossible. Looks like I can't be too greedy. In the first stage of the 9-stage Thunderblade, there are 18 different blade techniques. According to the instruction manual, if I practice these 18 techniques, I'll be able to realize the trick to unleashing the first stage of the 9-stage Thunderblade, nodded Luo Feng. There's a saying that goes, after reading a book 100 times, the meaning will show itself. After practicing these 18 techniques many times, the meaning behind them will show itself. Feng, time to eat. Feng, hurry. Mom and Dad's voices carried from downstairs. Coming, Luo Feng put his ghost blade back into its scabbard and hung it onto the wall. After that, he put the 9-stage Thunderblade instruction manual into his personal room. It was only after doing this did Luo Feng go downstairs to eat. Time passed, and even though Luo Feng already joined the Fire Hammer Squad, they were on break. Luo Feng used this opportunity to polish his 9-stage Thunderblade technique, agility, and Dao Yin technique. That, and the genetic energy training produced clear results. Luo Feng's fitness level clearly grew by a ton again. And for the 9-stage Thunderblade technique, Luo Feng still hasn't been able to learn the first stage. Even though he couldn't learn it, it was clear that Luo Feng has become more agile, and his control over his blade and power has improved a lot. Even though I still can't unleash another stage, but at least I'm able to control my muscles much better than before. Luo Feng stood alone in the training hall and silently started putting on his battle uniform. He put 5 throwing knives on each of his thigh pockets, and he wore alloyed battle boots. He also had a vest on, which revealed his shoulders, and had wrist guards on both arms. He had his backpack, hexagonal shield, and ghost blade on his back. On his right wrist guard was his tactical communications watch. In his bag, he had some water and high-carb food prepared. Today, August 28th, is the first day I leave the city and officially begin a mission. Luo Feng took a deep breath. Indeed, today was the day that the Fire Hammer Squad departs. Luo Feng. Fire Cannon Chenggu's yell came from outside. Coming, responded Luo Feng. He immediately ran downstairs and saw that his father Luo Honggua and mother Gong Xanlan were standing in the living room. His brother Luo Hua was in his wheelchair and also silently looking at Luo Feng. They knew that today was the day that Luo Feng was going to leave the city and enter the wilderness. The wilderness was what people called the land outside of the city, which includes ruined cities, suburbs, mountains, forests, lakes, etc. Luo Feng. Be careful, Gong Xanlan couldn't help but to say. Don't worry, Mom, Luo Feng laughed. He nodded at his father and then finally looked towards Luo Hua. Bro, maybe when you come back, you'll be able to eat my wedding candy. Luo Hua suddenly started laughing. Wedding candy? So fast? You haven't even known that young woman for 2 months yet, laughed Luo Feng. If we're in a good relationship, who cares if it's quick? Luo Hua laughed. All right, I'll come back to eat your wedding candy, so you better get a lot of good-tasting ones for me. Luo Feng laughed and rubbed his brother's head. Okay. Dad, Mom, I'm off. I'll be back in a few days. After saying that, Luo Feng ran towards the door and met with Chenggu at the door of his villa. Luo Feng's family silently watched Luo Feng in his battle uniform leave swiftly with the brute, who was also fully equipped. Let's go, Luo Feng, to the HR Alliance's market to meet up with the leader and the others. Then we'll leave together towards the wilderness. Yes, Brother Chen. Luo Feng swiftly headed towards the dojo of Limit's private car with Chenggu and another man with a steel spear on his back. In Jiangnan City, one of the 6 major headquarters in China, there was a skyscraper that was 88 stories tall and full of wealth. On the wall of the skyscraper were 2 very flashy English characters, HR. Around the first floor of the skyscraper, there was a beautiful plaza which had the largest fountain in the city. Around the plaza, there were at least 1,000 soldiers patrolling with real guns, preventing any outsider from stepping even 1 step inside. Every pedestrian who passes by looks at the skyscraper in admiration. Most of the people in the entire city have never entered the area. Beep! An electronic sound rang. Within a moment, the patrolling soldiers immediately made way for a military SUV with HR on the car body. It stopped in front of the gate of the lobby. HUA, the door opened, and 3 fully armed fighters came out, either carrying a spear, a blade, and a hexagonal shield, or 2 metal boxes on their backs. Mr. Please enter, the doorman of the lobby's entrance greeted them respectfully. The 3 fighters immediately entered the skyscraper's lobby. Let's go, Luo Feng. Let's go sit at the bar at the side and wait for the captain and the others to come, Chenggu laughed. I still haven't seen the captain yet. I wonder what he looks like, laughed Luo Feng. At the same time, he observed the HR Alliance market. This was the underground alliance that was built by the power families and corporations all around the world. It acted as their headquarters in Jiangnan City, so this skyscraper was extremely extravagant. The lobby was full of eccentric people. Even their simple accessories were out of the ordinary. The waiter in the lobby, the handsome men, and the beautiful women, each of them had a refreshing smile. Luo Feng, Chenggu, and the other member, Zhang Kun, all sat on the sofa. What will you 3 be having? Smiled the waiter as he bowed while asking. Taiwanese, pu'er tea, with a hint of jasmine. Fire Cannon Chenggu and Zhang Ku. These 2 senior fighters spoke immediately, which shocked Luo Feng a bit. In the Limit Hall, these 2 drank alcohol frequently. Zhang Ku, whose biceps were bulging like a gorilla's, laughed as he said, Luo Feng, the wilderness is dangerous, so we can't drink alcohol. Luo Feng suddenly came to, yes, you can't take the wilderness lightly. How could you drink alcohol now? I'll also have a cup of pu'er tea, laughed Luo Feng. A solemn, musical song was playing in the lobby. It was a piece played by a flute. As to what song it was, he couldn't tell. However, the song was soothing yet energizing. It made one feel much more refreshed. Luo Feng, the first floor is the resting area for guests. From the second floor and up, it's where items are sold. Chenggu smiled. In the Underground Alliance, the prices are lower than the full price of the things in the Limit Home's internet market. Of course, it costs more than our half price. Luo Feng nodded. Half price was something that only the members of the dojo could enjoy. The best thing about the Underground Alliance marketplace is that we can sell the ingredients we obtain from the monsters for a high price to them, explained Chenggu. If we sell the ingredients from hunted monsters to the dojo, we also earn contribution points, but the price is lower. If we sell them to the Underground Alliance marketplace, we get more money, but no contribution points. Naturally, which one you decide to sell to is entirely up to you. Luo Feng laughed. As to this point, he already read some posts on the fighter discussion thread, so he knew this a long time ago. Selling to the dojo gives contribution points and money. Selling to the Underground Alliance marketplace gives only money, but a lot of it. Brother Wang, you've already been working for the entire night. Take a break and leave it to me, a soft sound rang. Luo Feng, who was holding his teacup, suddenly turned his head as if he was shocked by electricity. At the bar, there was a young woman in a white, collared shirt and long black pants, who was changing positions with another manager. In this bar, there were 12 waiters and a manager. The bar was open 24 hours, and they had 8-hour shifts, so there were 3 different groups. Suxin? Luo Feng looked with disbelief at the female manager, a professional woman who had an air of nobleness around her. There is no way an ordinary person can become the manager of the bar or the Underground Alliance's lobby. This is a place that was made just to serve fighters. Just to become a waiter, you would probably have to graduate from a prestigious college and undergo tons of training, not to mention a bar manager. Sux, how did that plain high school girl in the past change herself so dramatically? Brother Chen, Brother Jiang, I'm going to go over there for a bit. Luo Feng left his bag, shield, blade, etc. on the sofa, and he stood up smiling as he headed over to the bar. In the bar, Suxian's head was lowered as she checked the supplies at the counter. Suddenly, Suxian, a familiar voice rang. Suxian was shocked. The people who knew her in the lobby usually called her Manager Su, and usually the fighters don't know her name. How could someone call her Suxian, and this voice sounds so familiar? Suxian raised her head. At this time, Luo Feng's head was lowered as he looked into the bar, and Suxian was half-squatted as she finished checking the wine and raised her head. Their gazes met. Luo Feng and Suxian both suddenly had the same feeling. Their hearts throbbed a bit. Luo Feng, why are you here? Suxian reacted, and she stood up as she laughed. Even Suxian can become a manager here. How come I can't be here? Laughed Luo Feng as he said, looking at the young woman in front of him. Luo Feng couldn't help but to think about his times in high school, where he sat in the back of the classroom and silently looked at Suxian's back. He had a crush for a long time, but he just didn't have a chance to confess. He thought he would probably never see Suxian again, but he ended up meeting her right before his first trip to the wilderness at the HR Alliance market. Ah, Luo Feng, you're a fighter? Suxian saw Luo Feng's outfit and couldn't help but to say in surprise. Yeah, I'll be going to the wilderness soon, laughed Luo Feng. The wilderness? Suxian's face changed a bit. All over the world, the areas other than the cities were called the wilderness. For the people who live in the cities, the wilderness was basically a replacement for the forbidden area of death. There were all types of monsters there, sinister, strange ones, and large, barbaric ones. There were also existences that were near invincible. Only the strongest of mankind, the fighters, could go there and fight the monsters. Suxian couldn't have thought that Luo Feng was a fighter and that he was about to enter the wilderness. In reality, Suxian knew that Luo Feng liked her a bit. This kind of thing was impossible to hide. Luo Feng constantly looked at her every day in class, and Suxian naturally caught Luo Feng staring at her when she turned her head. Naturally, Suxian understood Luo Feng's thoughts. It was just that both sides failed to point it out. Luo Feng, the captain's here, come, shouted Chenggu. I'll be going there, said Luo Feng to Suxian. N/O/vel/B//in.C///OM. Okay, nodded Su Xian. Luo Feng went back to his original place. At this time, 3 people arrived and 2 of them looked similar. One look is enough to tell you that they're twins. Both of them had a shield and a scimitar on their backs. The third man was extremely large and had 2 black sledgehammers that were glowing with a bit of silver. Luo Feng, these 2 are the famous twin moon scimitar brothers of the Wei family. Wei Tai and Wei Qing, smiled Chenggu as he said. The Wei brothers nodded their heads towards Luo Feng and put down their shields and scimitars and sat down. Brother Tai, Brother Qing, smiled Luo Feng as he greeted. The other members of the Fire Hammer Squad are much older than Luo Feng, at least 10 years older. Compared to the other 5 people, Luo Feng indeed seems like a little brother. This is the captain of our Fire Hammer Squad, Dual Wind Hammer Gao Feng, said Chenggu. Luo Feng couldn't help but to notice that Captain Gao Feng wasn't that tall. He was barely past 180 centimeters. His speciality was that he was extremely well built, as if he was made out of steel bars. Gao Feng sneered, and the muscles of his face were like rocks as he approached. Luo Feng, you also use a blade, so after entering the wilderness, try to get some experience from Wei Tai and Wei Qing. You have good talent, so I'm sure you'll swiftly become a member of our team. Okay, nodded Luo Feng. No matter what, his first priority is to not become a burden for this elite fighter squad. Take a break and we'll leave, said Gao Feng. Yes, Captain. Including Luo Feng, the 5 of them nodded. In just 20 minutes, Gao Feng and the others finished their drinks and stood up. Let's go to the wilderness. Luo Feng immediately picked up his ghost blade, shield, etc. Luo Feng, a sound rang. Luo Feng turned his head. At this time, Su Xian's chest pounded a bit. For some reason, the thought of Luo Feng entering the dangerous wilderness made her worried. Maybe Su Xian also started to develop some special feelings for the boy who had a crush on her during high school. Yes. Luo Feng looked at Su Xian. In the next few days, school will start for me. But during college, I'll be the manager here on Fridays and the weekend, Su Xian yelled. You better come at those times. As she yelled this, Su Xian's face started to turn red. Okay, I'll come for sure. Luo Feng let out a smile. You pick one up so quickly? Nice. Chenggu slapped Luo Feng's shoulder as he laughed loudly. This is one of the benefits of being young. All the beautiful women stick to you, laughed Gao Feng on the side. Since he already determined to let Luo Feng join the Fire Hammer Squad, naturally they'll treat him as a brother. Luo Feng just laughed. Let's go. Get on the car. The 6 of the Fire Squad team members got on the HR Alliance private car and headed towards the train station, where they'll ride a train headed towards the wilderness.